G'day, everybody. Uh, Hopefully you can hear me right now. And if you are in the chat, please do feel free to let me know if I am A, too loud, or B, too quiet. So please say hi if you're there, just to let me know. Sound good, sound bad. Sound good, sound bad. And I'm just having a little flick through because it wouldn't be a good stream. It wouldn't be a typical stream if I didn't get something wrong with the settings. If you could see what I see, I've got a whole bunch of dials and virtual knobs to look at here. So let's see. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So according to my little data here, it says that I'm doing amazing in terms of the audio. So nice and clear. Please let me know if that's not the case. I'm just going to do what I sometimes do, which is check on I've got a second monitor down here, like on a separate laptop, where I can check in and pretend to be a viewer and just double check that the sound's okay. So I'm going to turn the microphone off. If I keep it on, then it does this infinite sound loop thing, which sounds just amazingly horrific. So let me just do that. Sounds okay. All right. Welcome. Welcome to Boring Dad Sleep Stories. And we have a pretty... Oh, and I've got someone in the chat, Marion, who I know very well. G'day. G'day. G'day, mate. Hey, I hope you're well. And, yeah, miss you all the time. And I'm glad that you're here. So, righto. Tonight we've got a pretty action-packed night. I just realized the background that I've got on either side of me. I use the background here for another stream that I do for another channel. It just doesn't seem to fit the vibe that I'm going for tonight. So I'm just going to quickly take that away. Ooh, okay, and we could do this one. It's nice and sci-fi-esque, but I think I'm going to choose something like this, which is, I don't know, appropriately nebulous and matches my golden face because of this light. Hang on. Ooh, that looks like I'm a corpse. All right. Oh, that'll do. Doesn't really matter, does it? Okay, so tonight we've got a pretty action-packed stream in terms of, as far as things go here anyway, on this channel, which is where, like I always say, and just a quick reminder, where I dedicate everything on this channel to our sons, my wife and my sons. Pardon me. I'm still getting over a bit of an illness here. Who are currently 6 and 3 years old. Not my illness and my wife, my two sons are 6 and 3 years old. And boys, wherever you are and whenever you are, just know that, yeah, it's been another amazing day with you. Older, you and I have spent the day together at home and out and about. We went bargain hunting in some op shops, and that was kind of fun. I gave you a budget, and you managed to stick to it, and you found some really cool stuff and some stuff that I didn't think you would be interested in. But really, it's a great and a fun time going out with you, always. I'm sure that when I was younger, I had many surprising tastes and preferences that my parents found oddly delightful as well, and possibly still do. So it was really fun. And we played a bit of Zelda Ocarina of Time right here in the booth using this here controller. This is the first video game that you've ever played, and you're playing it on an Xbox controller instead of the original Nintendo 64 controller. This is all by the by, but it's just little checkpoints to let you know where you were in time when I recorded this. So in my completely, I suppose, ego-driven imagination, you're listening to this within the next kind of 40 years, and hopefully you look back on this time and remember that you had a great time, sometimes a little frustrating playing your first video game. You had a good time sometimes going to op shops with your dad and hanging out in the garden chopping trees down and patting the dog and giving her cuddles, which she enjoyed. Right, so action-packed night, like I said. Let's talk more about that. So tonight will be the first night on stream that we're going to hit some Hardy Boys up. And what we're going to do is we're going to do in a second, after I've done a little bit of a warm-up, we're going to check out the previous work that I've done on this. Let me see if I can do this fancy button pressing. Oh, yeah. We will be using Project Gutenberg, as you can see on the screen. Oh, can you see that on the screen? I don't think you can. Yes, you can. Like I said, technically insufficient. We're going to be using Project Gutenberg, and if you haven't heard of Project Gutenberg, where have you been? Um, you definitely need to check it out. It's got, like it says, 75,000, well, over. There's new books uploaded every single day. It's, sorry, little birth. It's all raw here. Yeah, 75,000 or more, definitely more, free ebooks. And completely free to use however you want. They will all be in the public domain in America, I believe. And if they're in the public domain in America, they're probably very likely in the public domain in your country, because America is quite strict with their public domain laws about how long an author has to be dead and under which circumstances you can use their book / work. So these are the ones, for example, that have been uploaded today or within the last 24 to 48 hours. Ooh, Weird Tales. One of my followers / subscribers read weird stuff with me would be right up to that. She would know exactly what's going on there, wouldn't you, Marissa? Weird Tales. An old, wow, 25 cents for a whole magazine full of short stories in 1927, April 1927. That's pretty cool. As you can see, new stuff uploaded every time, not all in English. This site can't be reached? Oh, that's great. Let's try that again. Right, here it is. So, yeah, stuff like this. There's always a surprise. There's classics that you know about and stuff that you never would have thought of. Tonight, the main job is to, A, record 1 or 2 chapters of the Hardy Boys, The Mystery of Shore Road, the Shore Road Mystery, sorry, which is just here. I've got it preloaded. Here it is. Look at that. It's a classic. There they are. I imagine that's the thieves of the cars. Sorry, spoiler, probably, but I haven't actually read it, so I haven't read all the way through. I read these novels mostly cold, and I have a much more interesting time this way probably than you know, discovering the mystery at the same time that my listeners do. And look, there they are in Bayport on a rainy, windswept day / evening. Bayport really is subject to tempestuous weather. I love it. Right, and it was published in 1928. So this is, we're going to try and, here's a classic old piece of graphic literature. Look at this. Do you know who we've got here? I imagine that's Frank and that's Joe, the older brother and the younger brother. Right, and I have already recorded, I think, at least the first 3 chapters here. I think I remember reading up to Under Suspicion. It's been a rough ride for the Hardy Boys so far, and their chums. They have been out on their motorbikes without helmets, just, riding around as 15 and 16-year-olds on the roads, which is just amazing. And they chased a stolen car from a rich man who was fishing on the cliffs or on the beaches or something like that near Bayport. They've crashed their motorbikes into a hedge and somehow all survived because a farmer and his hay cart came out onto the road, and that was terrible. And Marion says yes. Oh, that was probably a while ago. Sorry, Marion. And he has yelled at them a little bit, and then they've moved on, and they found at their other friend's house, I can't remember his name, him and his father currently being questioned by the police, and I think not just the local police, but I think the state police, and they have been framed for stealing another car that's been stolen previously. Someone's planted their friend's fishing rod in the back of the car, and so yeah, it's bad. It's a bad time. And I think It's about to start heating up. It's a non-stop romp with the Hardy Boys. And two of my subscribers, one who I just call Iowa, because you always sign off saying Iowa, USA. So I'll call you Iowa. Iowa has been requesting that we get back into the Hardy Boys very politely. I appreciate that you've been kind of tipping me off about any more Hardy Boys. And the other one is, I believe your name is Ren, or you go by Ren as part of your username. And Ren has been quite explicit about me getting back to the Hardy Boys. Correct, Ren. I have been away for far too long from the Hardy Boys. And if you were to look at my analytics for the channel, you would know that most people subscribe to this channel are either family, friends, or Hardy Boys fans. So I really do need to start catering more to you guys, because although this is dedicated to my two sons, I would love to get a few more subscribers who are into this stuff as well, and it just gives me the most motivation. You have no idea. Anyway, as the kids say, enough yapping. And time to start doing something. The other thing, apart from doing one or two chapters of the Hardy Boys, we'll be getting back into this book here, Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things by Lafcadio O'Hearn, which, as you know, if you've been following the channel for the last couple of weeks, I've been getting into. It's an anthology of short stories, which are basically translations of traditional Japanese folk tales, mostly to do with the supernatural, by Lafcadio O'Hearn, who was an American journalist slash ethnographer in the late 1800s and early 1900s, who moved to Japan as a journalist and then stayed, married someone, I think it was his second marriage, and just started writing and stayed there for the rest of his life. He was already writing, but this was, I think, one of his peak kind of works. Internet's working really slowly. Let me know if it's dropping out at all for you, or it's kind of freezing or anything like that. I have no idea at the moment. So those are our two main jobs. We need to. Here we are. Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things by Lafcadio O'Hearn, published in 1904. And in particular, pardon me. In particular, this is where we're up to. We've read the story of Miminashi Hoichi. We've read Oshidori, which is just, they are all highly condensed and full of, if you imagine while you're reading these, in my mind, if you imagine usually like a very plucky, slow, what's the word I'm looking for? Thoughtful shamisen, one of those 2 or 3 stringed instruments in Japan of Japanese origin, just plucking away and playing some kind of moonlit, melancholy tale, or quite hearty and folksy and comfortable kind of plucking, dong dong, something quite relaxing but thoughtful. That it really lights this up. They are highly condensed folk tales, and you can imagine they're very, for want of a better word, I find them quite cinematic. I think they would all make great adaptations on the screen, and I think Kwaidan actually has, some of the stories from this anthology in particular have been turned into several forms of Japanese-made and directed media, movies and TV, I don't know, stuff like that. Really good stuff. So we read the story of Miminashi Hoichi, Oshidori, the story of Ote, Ubazakara, Diplomacy, of a Mirror and a Bell, which was, of a Mirror and a Bell is the one that sticks out to me. The author interjects quite a bit. Hearn interjects a little bit to kind of explain explicitly the law, L-O-R-E, law, not L-A-W, while he's going. And doesn't detract from it at all. Just, Now, all right, here we go. And last stream, we focused on Jikininki, which once you look up a Jikininki, you will understand why it's so terrifying and sad, because a Jikininki is a demon who, because of their excesses, or I think, like basically their unholy thoughts, or, you know, digressions from faith or something like that, uh, during their mortal life, upon death, are reborn as Chikininki, as these demons who are given this immortal, everlasting hunger, and they must consume the bodies uh, of corpses who have recently died, and they're never satisfied. And that's kind of the point, right? They were never satisfied in life, uh, and they are never satisfied in death, and they are all seeking redemption, but horrific demons. It's at once, like I said, horrific, homely, uh, and gives you a sense of ennui all at the same time, like quite sad. So today we're going to be moving on to Mujina, and just like the Hardy Boys, I read these cold, as in I will need to get up at some point in this case, Google Translate, in order to translate some of the words for pronunciation. For example, here, Tokyo, I can read that. Akaska Road, yeah. There is a slope called Ki no Kunizaka. Ki no Kunizaka, which means the slope of the province of Ki. Uh, and Kyobashi. Yeah, I think I can pronounce most of these, but every now and then, oh, it's quite a short one. We might actually get through more than one, and this one is called Rokuro Kubi. Rokuro Kubi. Ooh, we've got some quite interesting looking pronunciations that's going to happen here. So, as you can see, we're just working our way through. Whoa, this one's quite lengthy compared to the others. Oh my gosh. All right, so we will see how we go for time. If we get the first one done, I'll be happy. Mujina. Now, I will the reason I kind of talk a bit at the start is to kind of gauge my voice. I'm listening to my own voice in the headphones, so I kind of try and explain my process as I go as well. I'm listening to my voice, the feedback on my voice. I'm adjusting it down here so I can hear in more detail my voice, or I can take it away if it's just basically giving me anxiety, or I think it's doing well. But at the moment, I've got it turned quite high up so I can hear all the little weird noises my mouth makes, which is quite freaky when you first hear it. It is to warm up my voice and gauge how it's going. And I think I'm doing all right tonight, basically, in terms of, consistency with my usual kind of voice. But I also like to go here to the online library of short stories, which is a fun little website. And the more you look at it, the more fascinating it appears, because it's run by an Australian. I found that out at some point, I think. And you can sense the passion that, I think it's a he, or I'll just say that they have for short stories. And because they are in Australia, I presume that what they put up here is usable and most likely in the public domain. And I have backed that up several times by looking it up on Project Gutenberg, or looking into the date of publication and stuff like that. So I think in Australia, most of the time, if the author has been dead for, I can't remember basically anything at the moment, I think prior to 1960. And then also after 1960, certain exceptions are public domain in Australia, which is much younger than American law. And because I'm in Australia, I'm just going with, to my best knowledge, that these stories are in the Australian public domain, so I should be good to go. Now, I will just quickly do some warm-ups by reading a little story. I'm just going to mute the microphone. Rightio. And that is so you don't have to hear my gross clearing of throat. Um, right, right. We've got a lot of Aesop's fables in the in the uh, in the shorter length texts. Uh, the Pearl of Love by H.G. Wells. That looks fun. So this is literally, I just read these through really rough, and I don't bother recording them. I'm just using them to warm up. Last time, I think I read for the start of a Barack Obama speech that he did. This time around, we're reading The Pearl of Love by H.G. Wells. We might get through all of it, we might not. And if I like it, it's something I can record in the future. A little bonus, if I have time and I'm awake and I'm feeling genki-des, or energetic, is that I will try and record Beatrix Potter's The Squirrel Nutkin story as well, if it seems acceptable and if it's on Project Gutenberg. My oldest son, you're into watching a Netflix adaptation of Peter Rabbit at the moment, and you've been talking a lot about Squirrel Nutkin and a couple of other things, and yeah, it'd be nice to contribute to that passion with a bit of storytelling. So, this is The Pearl of Love by H.G. Wells, author of the War of the Worlds. It's 1,649 words. It's published in 1925 in the Strand magazine. So, here we go. The pearl is lovelier than the most brilliant of crystalline stones, the moralist declares, because it is made through the suffering of a living creature. About that I can say nothing, because I feel none of the fascination of pearls. Their cloudy luster moves me not at all. Nor can I decide for myself upon that age-long dispute whether the Pearl of Love is the cruelest of stories, or only a gracious fable of the immortality of beauty. Both this story and the controversy, let's go with controversy. Both the story and the controversy will be familiar to students of medieval Persian prose. The story is a short one, though the commentary upon it is a respectable part of the literature of that period. Literature. What is wrong with you? Just say literature. They have treated it as a poetic invention, and they have treated it as an allegory, meaning this, that, or the other thing. Theologians have had their copious way with it, dealing with it particularly as concerning the restoration of the body after death, and it has been greatly used as a parable by those who write about aesthetics. And many have held it to be the statement of a fact, simply and baldly true. And now we get into the story. The story is laid in North India, which is the most fruitful soil for sublime love stories of all the lands in the world. It was in a country of sunshine and lakes and rich forests and hills and fertile valleys. And far away, the great mountains hung in the sky, peaks, crests, ridges of inaccessible and eternal snow. There was a young prince, lord of all the land, and he found a maiden of indescribable beauty and delightfulness, and he made her his queen and laid his heart at her feet. Love was theirs, full of joys and sweetness, full of hope, exquisite, brave, and marvelous love, beyond anything you have ever dreamt of love. It was theirs for a year, and part of a year, and then suddenly, because of some venomous sting that came to her in a thicket, she died. Oh, geez, that's very sudden. She died, and for a while the prince was utterly prostrated. He was silent and motionless with grief. They feared he might kill himself, and he had neither sons nor brothers to succeed him. For 2 days and nights he lay upon his face, fasting across the foot of the couch which bore her calm and lovely body. Then he arose and ate, and went about very quietly, like one who has taken a great resolution. He caused her body to be put in a coffin of lead mixed with silver, and for that he had an outer coffin made of the most precious and scented woods, wrought with gold. And about that there was to be a sarcophagus of alabaster, inlaid with precious stones. And while these things were being done, he spent his time, for the most part, by the pools and in the garden house and pavilions and groves, and in those chambers in the palace where they too had been most together, brooding upon her loveliness. He did not rend his garments, nor defile himself with ashes and sackcloth, as the custom was, for his love was too great for such extravagances. At last he came forth again among his counselors and before the people, and told them what he had a mind to do. He said he could never more touch woman, he could never more think of them, and so he would find a seemly youth to adopt for his heir and train him to his task, and that he would do his princely duties as became him, but that for the rest of it he would give himself with all his power and all his strength and all his wealth, all that he could command, to make a monument worthy of his incomparable, dear, lost mistress. A building it should be of perfect grace and beauty, more marvelous than any other building had ever been or could ever be, so that to the end of time it should be a wonder, and men would treasure it, and speak of it, and desire to see it, and come from all lands of the earth to visit and recall the name and memory of his queen. And this building, he said, was to be called the Pearl of Love. I'll take a quick, hang on, I've just got to have a little drink here. Oh, crikey. It's warm. I've opened the door, so apologies for the change in quality. Now, so his wife, or his mistress, has died, and he's going to build a great monument building, a building that is a monument to his love for her. And this his counselors and people permitted him to do, and so he did. Year followed year, and all the years he devoted himself to building and adorning the Pearl of Love. A great foundation was hewn out of the living rock in a place whence one seemed to be looking at the snowy wilderness of the great mountains across the valley of the world. Villages and hills were there, a winding river, and very far away, 3 great cities. Here they put the sarcophagus of alabaster beneath a pavilion of cunning workmanship, and about it there were set pillars of strange and lovely stone, and wrought and fretted walls, and a great casket of masonry bearing a dome and pinnacles and cupolas as exquisite as a jewel. At first, the design of Pearl of Love was less bold and subtle than it became later. At first it was smaller and more wrought and encrusted. There were many pierced screens and delicate clusters of rosy-hued pillars, and the sarcophagus lay like a child that sleeps among flowers. The first dome was covered with green tiles, framed and held together by silver. But this was taken away again because it seemed close, because it did not soar grandly enough for the broadening imagination of the prince. For by this time he was no longer the graceful youth who had loved the girl queen. He was now a man, grave and intent, wholly set upon the building of the Pearl of Love. With every year of effort he had learnt new possibilities in arch and wall and buttress. He had acquired greater power over the material he had to use. And he had learnt of 100 stones and hues and effects that he could never have thought of in the beginning. His sense of colour had grown finer and colder. He cared no more for the enamelled gold-lined brightness that had pleased him first, the brightness of an illuminated missal. He sought now for blue colouring like the sky, and for the subtle hues of great distances, for recondite shadows, and sudden broads, floods of purple opalescence, and for grandeur and space. He wearied altogether of carvings and pictures and inlaid ornamentation and all the little careful work of men. Those were pretty things, he said of his earlier decorations, and had put them aside into subordinate buildings where they would not hamper his main design. Greater and greater grew his artistry. With awe and amazement, people saw the Pearl of Love sweeping up from its first beginnings to a superhuman breadth and height and magnificence. They did not know clearly what they had expected, but never had they expected so sublime a thing as this. "Wonderful are the miracles," they whispered, "that love can do." And all the women in the world, whatever other loves they had, loved the prince for the splendor of his devotion. Through the middle of the building ran a great aisle, a vista that the prince came to care for more and more. From the inner entrance of the building, he looked along the length of an immense pillared gallery and across the central area from which the rose-hued columns had long since vanished. Over the top, the pavilion under which lay the sarcophagus, through a marvelously designed opening to the snowy wilderness of the great mountain, the lord of all mountains, 200 miles away. The pillars and arches and buttresses and galleries soared and floated on either side, perfect yet unobtrusive, like great archangels waiting in the shadows about the presence of God. When men saw that austere beauty for the first time, they were exalted, and when they shivered and their hearts were, and then they shivered and their hearts bowed down. Sorry guys, I'm just going to take a little drink break. Okay, so the prince has gone a little bit over the top, hasn't he? And I'm feeling my voice warm up a little bit, which is nice. And that's the whole point of this exercise. This is not a recording exercise. All right, here we go. We'll get into that next. So let's go back a couple of sentences. The pillars and arches and buttresses and galleries soared and floated on either side, perfect yet unobtrusive, like great archangels waiting in the shadows about the presence of God. When men saw that austere beauty for the first time, they were exalted, and then they shivered and their hearts bowed down. Very often would the prince come to stand there and look at that vista, deeply moved and not yet fully satisfied. The pearl of love had still something for him to do, he felt, before his task was done. Always he would order some little alteration to be made or some recent alteration to be put back again. And one day he said that the sarcophagus would be clearer and simpler without the pavilion, and after regarding it very steadfastly for a long time, he had the pavilion dismantled and removed. The next day he came and said nothing, and the next day, and the next. Then for 2 days he stayed away altogether. Then he returned, bringing with him an architect and 2 master craftsmen and a small retinue. All looked, standing together silently in a little group, amidst the serene vastness of their achievement. No trace of toil remained in its perfection. It was as if God of nature's beauty had taken over their offspring to himself. Only one thing there was to mar the absolute harmony. There was a certain disproportion about the sarcophagus. Oh no, you're not going to, are you? Come on, mate. Just be happy with what you've done. It had never been enlarged, and indeed, how could it have been enlarged since the early days? It challenged the eye. It nicked the streaming lines. In that sarcophagus was the casket of lead and silver, and in the casket of lead and silver was the queen, the dear immortal cause of all his beauty. But now, that sarcophagus seemed no more than a little dark oblong that lay incongruously in the great vista of the pearl of love. It was as if someone had dropped a small valise upon the crystal sea of heaven. Long the prince mused, but no one knew the thoughts that passed through his mind. And at last he spoke. He pointed. "Take that thing away," he said. "Ah, that's rough. The end. That is so rough." Oh man, H.G. Wells, what a winner. That's great. All right, so that concludes the warm-up part of the stream, and so we're going to move on I'm going to try and get into the habit of reading something as a warm up and then getting into the work. I'm sorry if this is not what you're after, but it relaxes me a little bit and kind of helps me get into the groove. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm just going to have a little toilet break, little bathroom break, and I'll come back and we're going to do a little listen through of the Shore Road Mysteries thus far, not just to see and to remind me of what's going on in the book so far, but character voices is a bit of an issue for me in this one because I believe that there are a couple of police investigators who are quite. I think I've already messed up their voices. I might even have to record that chapter again, but and their friend, the Hardy Boys' friend, is it's his own character voice as well. So I've just got to get that out of the way. All right, so back soon. Head torch. It is nearly 11 p.m. So. Okie dokie. Here we are again. So, uh, just while I've been out there contemplating the mysteries of the universe as I, stare at the stars, uh, what that last story, The Pearl of Love by H.G. Wells, it's just deeply sad. I think my initial reaction was unhappiness with the protagonist, but now it's just sadness, isn't it? Uh, it's like when you start with a perfectly good block of cheese. This is the worst metaphor ever. Simile, maybe, whatever it is, comparison. Um, and you slice a bit off, and it's not a perfect slice, so it's got a bit of a wedge to it, and so you modify the next one. You're going to have to start fresh, and then you chop another bit off, and that's not any good either. And then you keep chopping away until you're left with a misshapen, smaller than the original block of cheese, and all these slices that are nothing like what you originally wanted. And now you have too much cheese. You only wanted one slice of cheese. Gosh darn it! So this story reminds me of that. I mean, his original love for his wife and the idea that he had is the block of cheese, and he's altered it that many times that he's now no longer recognizing the product of his initial aim and goal, which was to deify his wife almost. His original slice of cheese has now become all these other things that he doesn't recognize, all these other slices, this massive monument that he no longer recognizes or needs, and to the point where at the end he just gets rid of the original, gets rid of it all because he just says, well, what's the point anymore? The new thing is actually its own thing. So, and he's changed as well, just like you become a little bit more bitter and cool at the loss of your piece of cheese. How are you liking this cheese comparison? Anyway, the Hardy Boy is the Shore Road Mystery. Now, I know for a fact that this is going to be. I wonder if it's going to be too loud. Hang on.
Chapter 1. Stolen Cars. "It certainly is a mystery how those autos disappeared," said Frank Hardy.
"I'll say it is," replied his brother Joe, raising his head to be heard above the clatter of their motorcycles. "Just think of it. 2 cars last week, 2 the week before, and
That's pretty
1
good.
the week before that. Some thieving, I'll tell the world."
"And Martin's car was brand new," called back Chet Morton. Mighty tough," Frank affirmed. "It's bad enough to lose a car, but to have it stolen the day after you've bought it is a little too much."
"Must be a regular gang of car thieves at work."
The 3 boys on their motorcycles were speeding along the shore road that skirted Barmet Bay, just out of Bayport, on a sunny Saturday afternoon.
"A person takes a big risk leaving a car parked along this road," said Chet. "Every one of the 5 autos disappeared along the shore."
"What beats me," declared Frank, turning out to avoid a mud puddle, "is how the thieves got away with them. None of them were seen coming into Bayport, and there was no trace of them at the other end of the shore road either. Seems as if they just vanished into the thin air."
Okay.
Chet slowed down.
So Frank,
"What beats me,"
declared Frank, turning out to avoid a mud puddle, "is how the thieves got away with them. None of them were seen coming into Bayport, and there was no trace of them at the other end of the shore road either. Seems as if they just vanished into thin air." Okay. Pardon me. Sorry. A bit upset. My stomach's a bit upset today. Too much information. Moving on. I am feeling like I ate dinner too late. I didn't get a chance when we were putting the boys to bed, or when we were having dinner. So, we're just going to skip ahead.
And across the grass belied his words.
"Someone's here, all right,"
remarked Joe.
"and he seems in a hurry about something."
As the boys rode down the slope, they could see the man.
Now, keep in mind, this is completely raw. There's no editing or mastering to this. I haven't there is de-essing, and I think there's de-essing. Yeah, de-essing and mouth de-clicking. But there is not, hang on, I'll just put the multi-view up. But there is not, pardon me. Oh my gosh, maybe I'm not ready for this tonight. Maybe I should give it another night, but I'm going to try my darndest. I really want to get back on the horse here with this, the Hardy Boys. So, okay, I want to get to the point
When at
where we're
length
talking
they
about
emerged into an open section of
characters.
farming land, they gazed anxiously into the distance in hope of seeing their quarry. But they were disappointed. The fleeing car was not yet in sight. Down the road, between the crooked fences, they raced, the engines raising a tremendous racket. A few hundred yards ahead was the entrance to a lane that led into a farm. The lane was lined with dense trees. Suddenly, Frank gasped and desperately began to cut down his speed, for out of this lane
Here it is.
emerged a team of horses, drawing a huge wagon load of hay. The dust raised by Frank's motorcycle obscured the view of the other boys, and for a moment they didn't realize what was happening.
Okay.
The trees along the lane had hidden the hay wagon from sight, and Frank was almost upon it before he realized the danger. It was
Right. So, we need to get to the point where we hear...
"Ain't my business to listen for them contraptions."
Oh, that's the angry farmer. He's pretty angry.
When Fenton Hardy retired from the Metropolitan Force, owing to the great demand for his services in private investigations, he moved with his family to Bayport, a thriving city of 50,000, on Barmet Bay on the Atlantic seaboard. Here, the 2 boys attended school, and here...
The drop-ins aren't perfect, are they? Anyway, what I mean by drop-ins is, like, I've stopped. You can see there's a break in the audio there, and then I've come back in, but it usually doesn't sound exactly right. To me, anyway, and obviously I'm judging myself there a bit harshly, but...
The place was pointed out to me.
I really just like to get these, pump these ones out a little and get them going. And the momentum usually helps me keep the quality up, believe it or not, or the consistency up. But if I take too long away, like I have now, then I have to stop. And I have to... Oh, here we go. There's Jack. The new character's called Jack Dodd. Here we go. A quiet, likable lad who is in their class at the Bayport High School. So he's quiet and likable. Okay, that matters. Yeah, I do not like to go away from the Hardy Boys books in particular for too long, because any new characters, which I just completely make up on the spot, their voices, and they're not, complex voices usually, but they do need remembering, and I need to get better at not staying away for so long. In the past, I've either finished the Hardy Boys books in like 4 or 5 mega recording sessions. They're usually about 40 to 50,000 words. Or I drag them out over months, and every time I come back to them, I have to reintegrate myself into the text a little bit. You know what I mean? Like get back in the mix. So let's just listen to this. I want to hear Jack. Jack is someone I need to listen to, as well as his dad, I think.
Of course it isn't mine, said Mr.
Of course it isn't mine. Here we go. Let's go back a bit, and then we'll see.
We found the car behind your barn, and it's one of the cars that was stolen in the past couple of weeks.
This is the cops,
the chums,
the police,
glanced questioningly at Jack Dodd. These men are detectives, he said in a low voice. They came out from the city with the trooper a little while ago. Did they really find a stolen car here? Asked Chet. Jack nodded. They found one all right. But how on earth it got here, I don't know.
Here we go.
It's a Packard, and somebody must have driven it in and left it among the bushes behind the barn. We never noticed it.
Nice.
Well, the state trooper was saying, I'm going to drive the car back to Bayport and return it to the owner.
Oh, okay. I recorded this 2 months ago. Turns out I've made one of the police officers American. Like, I know the whole thing's set in a fictional America, but I don't usually use American accents in the Hardy Boys. I usually just stick to what I know. Okay. I made that decision. I've got to support myself. Me, 2 months in the past, I'm going to support him. Okay, so there are 2 police officers, and I think one other guy. Oh my gosh, okay. There's a state trooper. So the state trooper is the American accent. Okay,
but how on earth it got here, I don't know.
Okay.
It's a Packard. And, well, the state trooper was saying, I'm going to drive the car back to Bayport and return it to the owner. You don't claim it's yours, do you? He gestured toward a splendid touring car nearby.
Oh, gosh.
Of course it isn't mine, said Mr. Dodd. I've never seen it before, and I never want to see it again. I guess you don't, growled one of the detectives. How it got here, I can't tell. I certainly had nothing to do with stealing it.
Okay.
People don't leave perfectly good cars hidden behind other people's barns, said the other detective. You'd better tell us a straight story, Dodd. It'll be easier for you. I've told you all I know about it. Well then, if you don't know any more about it, perhaps your son does. I don't know any more than Dad, declared Jack stoutly. I've never seen the car before. Never? No. One of the detectives stepped swiftly over to the automobile and produced an object from the back seat.
Here's the twist. Here's the hook.
Toward the boy.
Cliffhanger.
What's this? He asked. Oh, Jack gasped. Oh, my fishing rod. It's yours, is it? How did it get there if you've never seen the car before?
I mean, it's a fair question, right?
Chapter 3.
Okay, thank goodness in a way, because this next whole chapter is obviously done, because I can see it on this timeline here, on the recording timeline. So, okay, right, I've got 2 police officers. They seem to be local-ish, and there seems to be a more gruff one. I'm trying to, so for those in the chat who've just joined us, and for my sons who are watching this in the future, I'm trying to reintegrate myself. This is a recording from 2 months ago. I've done the first, by the looks of it, like 3 chapters. I need to get back into it tonight. There's a couple of irregular characters, not the main characters for the usual Hardy Boys group. There's Jack Dodd and his dad, Jack Dodd's dad. I don't think he has his name. It's just Mr. Dodd. There are two detectives, and those are the police officers that there's like one gruff one who's like, you don't have to come back with us. I guess you won't go very far away. And then there's the other one who's just stern. No, you don't have to come back with us. And then there's the American state trooper. I'm so sorry. That'll say something like, you boys said there was another car stolen? Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Swore that he'd get even with us.
Okay. And they think they've been
I've no
framed
more
by a former
idea how
farm
that
worker.
automobile got here than... He shrugged his shoulders and moved slowly away.
Okay, so the cops have just...
I said,
sorry,
anyway,
the police have just
it didn't
left.
pass
Sorry.
along this road. You've been following it?
We were right behind it until we had a spill a few miles back. That held us up for a while.
I
see.
Well, the car has probably got away by a side road. I'll report it at headquarters
anyway.
He turned briskly away and went over to the Packard, getting into the front seat and taking his place at the wheel. The two detectives followed. You'll hear from us again in a day or so, said one gruffly.
Just in case you're wondering, the gruff one said that gruffly, not the other one. I love the Hardy Boys.
To Mr. Dodd. See that you stay here. I've nothing at all to fear. I didn't steal the car.
Okay.
You can tell that in court. Tell your boy to think up a better yarn about the fishing rod. With this parting shot, the officers drove away.
Oh my gosh.
Stunned by the misfortune that had befallen them, Mr. Dodd and Jack were silent. Frank Hardy was the first to speak. I'm sure it'll turn out all right, Jack. There's been a big mistake somewhere. Of course there's been a mistake, returned the boy heavily.
Okay.
But it looks mighty bad for us.
Yes, it does.
I've been living on this farm for more than 30 years, said Henry Dodd. And there's never been anyone who could say anything against my good name, or the name of anyone in my family. I've no more idea how that automobile got here than... He shrugged his shoulders and moved slowly away toward the house.
Poor Henry.
We've told the truth, declared Jack. We never saw the car before. We didn't know it was here. And I told them the truth about my fishing rod. I lost it last week, and I didn't see it until that detective took it out of the automobile. How it got there, I don't know. The chums were sympathetic. They tried to the best of their ability to cheer up Jack Dodd, although in their hearts they knew that the evidence against the boy would weigh heavily in a court of law. Well, if you'd known anything about the car, and if you'd left your fishing rod there, you wouldn't have identified it so readily, said Frank, shrewdly.
Good on you,
That
Frank.
was what made me certain you were telling the truth. I was so surprised at seeing the rod, I couldn't help it. I told him.
This is what I love about the Hardy Boys, right? I love the fact that they go on gut so much, like, and just like they're like, yeah, he seems like he's telling the truth. I'll believe that, and therefore that is now the truth. And because they're the protagonists, like that's just what we're going with. I love it. They go on gut, and it's like country common sense, you know. So
Thanks, ever so much, he said gratefully. I'm glad someone believes me. Those city detectives can't see any farther than the end of their noses, Chet Morton declared warmly. Don't worry about them. If they put you in jail, we'll dynamite the place to get you out. He grinned as he said this, and his good humor alleviated the tension that had fallen over the group. Well, I guess we'll have to be going, said Frank, as he mounted his motorcycle. Don't think too much about this, Jack. Something will turn up. I hope so, answered the boy. Chet Morton and the Hardy lads said goodbye to their chum and rode out of the farmyard. No use chasing Mr. Fussy's car now, decided Joe. Gone but not forgotten, Chet said. We might as well go home. So, leaving Jack Dodd standing disconsolately in the yard, the three headed their motorcycles back toward Bayport.
all right. And that brings us up to date. Okay. Wow, my voice, I don't know if I'm really am ready for this. Like, it's just, I'm not sick anymore. but I'm just still a bit, you know what I mean? I think I'm listening to my own voice a little bit too much. Maybe that's what it is. I'm going to turn down the headphones volume so I can't actually hear myself very well. And that's probably going to be a good thing for the long run. I'm trying to get my head around the Hardy Boys again. I'm trying to feel like I live in the 1920s. Okay, Great Depression isn't there yet. Okay, everyone's still happy. Everyone still thinks the Gilded Age is coming back. All right, okay, all the rich people are great. We love rich people. All right, okay, racism doesn't exist. All right, prohibition was just a trend. All right. Right, so I need to get that frank frame of mind. And Chet, what's Chet saying? How's he talking these days? So, leaving. Go. Gone but not forgotten, Chet said. But not forgotten? We might as well go home. We might as well go home. Okay, so he's always sounding a bit Dodd, cheeky. Standing disconsolately in the yard. The three headed their motorcycles back toward Bayport. Chet is one of the best. I love Chet. He gets a rough deal a lot of the time. I think he's quite clearly just he's just always out for a good time. He's like the Stifler. He's like the Stifler of the group. If you ever watch the American Pie movies, I don't know what the Porky's equivalent would be. I think I've seen one Porky's movie in my life, but as far as chums kind of movies, you know, the group of friends, he's the prankster. He's the yeah, he's fun. He's just a lot of fun. So I enjoy Chet probably more than I enjoy sometimes Frank. But at the same time, the way that I've framed Frank is as a bit of a stick in the mud, but a very confident young man who's going places, you know. I feel like he feels all the pressure of the family more than Joe. Joe is just trying to catch up to Frank, but Joe's trying to catch up to Frank and his dad, but his older brother Frank is just really trying to catch up to his dad. He's just trying to fill those shoes. And I think Fenton Hardy just quite clearly, at this point of the series, I don't know anything else about what happens after, the mystery of Cabin Island. I think that Frank really just wants to. He can tell that his dad wants him to be a detective, and the way that his mother talks about it, she's always very like, oh, tut tut, you know. But you can tell that, you know, his dad holds the power in the family, and he wants to be like his dad. Whereas Joe it has a little bit of a buffer between him and his dad. He looks up to his dad, he looks up to his brother, but Frank, I feel like, feels that pressure a lot more. And I think Frank is just naturally, in terms of temperament, a lot more of a serious young guy as well. Joe is serious, but I feel like Joe actually, the way that I've painted it in my head, Frank has had to work very hard for what he now is an expert at, like these deductive skills and this confidence and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Joe, I feel like it's just, he's kind of like, he just kind of floats along, and I think he's probably like toe to toe. They're only about a year apart, but it's always like he's you know, the only thing missing between him and Frank in terms of ability is experience. And so when I read the Hardy Boys, this is how I frame it in my mind. Anyway, let's get back into. Okay, so now that I've spent 2 months away from recording and we've listened to the first 3 chapters, let's get on to the 4th chapter now. Out on Bail. Okay. So Jack Dodd's not at school. I'm already reading ahead. Okay, that's bad. All right, I naturally try and leave about 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds between chapters, and I try to make that as natural as possible without having to insert silence later on. So let's keep on doing that. Here we go. Cycles. This is the raw process, guys. Bayport. Chapter 4. Out on Bail. On the following Monday, Frank and Joe Hardy noticed that Jack Dodd was not at school. They had heard no more about the case, although the disappearance of Isaac Fussy's automobile had increased public interest in the car thefts, and the local newspapers were making much of the failure of the police to bring the thieves to justice. The Bayport automobile failure of the police to bring the thieves. This is what happens. The Bayport Automobile Club had already taken action by offering a reward of $500 for information. Damn it, and there's no natural break there. I'm going to have to go back. Failure of the police to bring the thieves to justice. The Bayport Automobile Failure of the police to bring the thieves to justice. The Bayport Automobile Club had already taken action by offering a reward of $500 for information leading to the recovery of any of the stolen cars and the arrest of those responsible. 3 of the victims had all... Oh my gosh. I'll flow a bit more in a bit, guys. Stolen
Gotta get
cars
that
and
flow
the arrest
state.
of those responsible. 3 of the victims had also posted rewards of varying amounts, comprising another $500 all told for the return of their automobiles. The affairs had mystified Bayport because of the fact that not a trace of any of the cars had been found, save in the case of Martin's Packard, and motorists were apprehensive. No one knew whose turn would come next. As the Hardy boys were on their way to school on Tuesday morning, Frank pointed out one of the Automobile Club posters in a window. I sure wish we could land those car thieves. That's a nice fat reward. If we caught the thieves, we'd likely get the cars too, replied Joe. $1,000 is a nice little bit of money. It would come in handy. Added to the rewards we collected in the other cases, we'd have a good fat bank account. Reward or no reward, I'd like to catch the thieves just for the satisfaction of clearing up the affair. Most of all, so we could prove the Dodds haven't had anything to do with it. I wonder if the police have done anything about Jack yet. He surely was mighty blue on Saturday. Can't blame him, Joe said. I'd be blue myself if I was accused of stealing a car I'd never even seen before. As the Hardy boys entered the school. All right. Save as we go. Good habits. Stealing a car I'd never even seen before. As the Hardy boys entered the school, they were met by Chet Morton, who called them over to one side. Have you heard? He asked. About what? About Jack Dodd and his father. No. What's happened? They were arrested last night for stealing Martin's car. They're both in the Bayport jail right now. There was a low whistle of consternation from Frank. Nah, they're both in the Bayport jail right now. Chet doesn't sound whiny like that. No, what's happened? They were arrested last night for stealing Martin's car. They're both in the Bayport jail right now. There was a low whistle of consternation from Frank. Isn't it a There was a low whistle of consternation from Frank. Isn't that a shame? He declared indignantly. They had no more to do with stealing that car than the man in the moon. Of course, it was found on their farm. To do with stealing that car than the man in the moon. Of course, it was found on their farm, Chet pointed out. I know they didn't do it, but you can't blame the police for taking action when you come to think it over. The public are raising such an uproar about these missing cars that they have to do something to show they're awake. It's too bad Jack and his father should be made the goats. Sure is. They're in jail now? Asked Joe. Chet nodded. Yeah, they're coming up for the hearing this morning, but it's sure to be remanded. It's mighty tough because they haven't much money, and it'll be hard for them to raise bail. Oh my gosh. Crack the neck, crack the whip. Oh, who's in chat? Hey, Marissa. G'day. How are you? Hey, you made it. Oh my gosh. It is warm. Oh, that's because I've shut the door. This is a good chance to stop for a second. Just get myself back on track. Hello, Marissa. I loved your Back to Dust. Is it, what's it called? Back from Dust? Back to Dust? It was amazing. Doing okay? That's great. I don't know what time it is over there. I imagine it's morning over in America. But yeah, welcome. We have done our warm-up. So the way that I've structured it, and I want to start structuring the streams, is I do a little bit of a yap, what the kids call a yap. My students call a yap anyway, where I just have a chat about how things are going, just as a bit of a marker in time for the boys when they're older. And no coffee yet, just starting off my day, you say. Didn't mean all caps. That's okay. That's okay. When you said doing okay, thanks, I was like, whoa, you're a morning person. I am definitely less of a morning person these days, but I do enjoy a coffee. We grow not most of our own coffee. We grow some of our coffee. We aim to grow most of our own coffee. We currently have only about 8 trees, but we're going to need about 80 to cover our entire coffee needs for the year. I base that on 6 shots of coffee a day for 2 of us. Mm. So we're currently looking at clearing another bit of land on our property to put in another 60 trees from seed stock. Anyway, that's by the by. I love coffee to the point where I'm going to grow my own and get high on my own supply. So I understand your plight of no morning coffee. Thanks for joining in on the stream. So, like I said, I have a little bit of a chat, a warm up chat, and it's all to kind of warm my voice up and like have a chat to the boys. And then I pick something to read. Today we read The Pearl of Love, and I just read it completely raw. Um, it was, and because I don't know what I'm reading, I don't know what I'm getting into. And this one was quite heavy and made me feel feelings, Marissa. I felt feelings, which is quite rare for me when I'm in the middle of raw narration. I'm just, the last time I think I felt feelings was when you were in the stream last time. What were we reading? The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster. Oh, that was heavy. That made me question my whole life and everyone's life. I think it's very relevant in 2026. What was it? The Machine Stops. That was. I've been telling everyone to read it since then. You're more of a night owl, but have to get up early to walk the dog. Yeah, yeah. It's a contradiction of terms, isn't it? But the dog's a morning person. Well, the dog's just a you person, isn't it? Our dog's like that. She would just get up and she just wants to be up and be with us. Zelda, yeah, so I understand. I understand it from the dog's point of view, but I am also a night owl, as you may have guessed. It's funny. I'll start recording in a second again. Now I've got to get back on track. But uh, I I used to stay up late when I was a teenager and then get up early and train. I was a long distance runner. I say was, I haven't really done it much in the last 3 years. And then we had kids so I managed to make that work. And then after we had our boys, we weren't getting much sleep, as I'm sure you'll not be too surprised about. And then I had an excuse to kind of be awake all night, just being curmudgeonly and whinging about my life. Oh, when the boys are older, I can sleep again. I can't wait. And then they started sleeping. And then I was in a bind because I had no more excuse. And once again, I became a night owl. And the facet that it took at first was I started doing late night running. And then I started running about 120 kilometers a week. Re injured myself, I should say, um, for the 100th time. Stopped that and took a big break. And then started voiceover as a bit of a passion project. And now that's, as you can see, led one thing to another to making my own recording booth. It's either ASD or ADHD, but either way, I love this aspect of my life where I get to come out and what's the word I'm looking at? And what's the word I'm looking at? And encourage? No, basically pander to my passion. I like pandering to my passion, and it's a real luxury in my otherwise very busy and very offline life when I'm not on YouTube. So, yeah. What are you saying? No coffee yet. She gets up early, then sleeps most of the day. Oh, well, it's a dog's life, isn't it, Marissa? It's a dog's life, I tell you what. They get everything, and they only have to give love, but they have plenty of it to give, don't they? So, yeah. We had 2 dogs of the same litter, Zelda and Xena. That's our 2 princess names. It was my wife's idea. Princess Zelda from the video game, or video games, and Princess Xena, warrior princess, from that old TV show. Not that old, 90s. It's not that long ago. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump ago. And unfortunately, Xena was bitten by a brown snake in our backyard last year. And brown snakes, eastern brown snakes, are very, very venomous, and also quite. I think they're the number one most deadly, most dangerous. Sorry, and it's not because of their venom content, venom amount of venom in their, venom sacs. That goes to the coast, the inland, and then the coastal taipan. We have the coastal taipan here as well, but they're really shy. Generally speaking, if they don't have to bother you, they won't. If they need to bite you, they will. But the eastern browns, they're so they are not shy. They're very inquisitive, and because of that, they bite quite easily. And out of the two dogs, I would say it was always going to be the case that if one of them was going to get bitten, it was going to be Xena, because she. Sorry, this is a bit heavy. I've gone heavy here. Thank you. You're sorry to hear about the dog being bitten by a snake. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I got what you meant. Yeah, yeah. No, it was a terrible time. And I was just pruning some trees over near where her grave today. Very sad. Anyway, sorry. You hate snakes. Yeah, you kind of have to learn to respect them over here and at least give them a healthy respect. I would never say that I love snakes, unless I was trying to impress American or English tourists or something like that and be like, ah, yeah, it's just snakes, you put on the the, the Australian patter. But no, I don't like them at all. No. But yeah, brown snakes are so inquisitive that they are very easy to strike. Like they will strike quite easily. And they're in the top five most venomous anyway. But that is what makes them the most dangerous. Because of their nature and their behavior, not because of their venom content. But yeah, one small brown snake, a baby brown snake, is enough to kill. I think the old wives' tale is one baby brown snake is enough to kill. Has enough venom at any point in time to kill 10 grown people. And in fact, the baby brown snakes are more dangerous than the adults because they freak out a little bit more because they haven't got the experience, and so they will strike easier. And people are generally less scared of them because they're smaller, and so that leads to a whole other, uh, you know, cornucopia of problems because human nature is what it is. You just like, sorry, you can't type this morning. No stress. No stress. I'm just glad you dropped in to say hi. That's great. Thank you so much. I feel like we've been playing phone tag with the channel shoutouts, so this is nice. Um, yeah, I've had. I'll talk to you another time about this. I don't know how we're going to do that, but at some point, I'd love to know more about your work with LibriVox. Yeah, I've always been fascinated by that project. I am too selfish, not selfish. I would love to contribute to it, but also contribute to the channel, like this channel, because I would love to. I'm selfish. I like to kind of hoard my stuff. So, but it would be lovely if I could do it, put this here, and also put it onto LibriVox, if you know what I mean. And I would just edit out the bits where I talk about my sons, obviously. So, I want to know if that's possible. But anyway, for another day. You dislike all snakes, even the baby ones. Yeah, like I said, especially the baby ones, because they will bite for longer, which means more venom delivery. Yeah. Anyway, did you ever get to watch that? What's the thing I sent to you the other day? The link to the author of Robert E. Howard, the author of the original Conan series. If you haven't checked out his life, my gosh, his life itself is just fascinating. And his childhood must have been extremely interesting. And it has that sense of romanticism of the Wild West about it. The last of the Wild West. Like, he grew up in the shadow of the Wild West days in the early 1900s. Really interesting stuff. Anyway, you'd love to talk sometime. Yeah, cool. Yeah, love to collaborate on that. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool. We could do a joint live stream. I don't know what your anxiety is like over the stream, but let me tell you, it usually goes away a little bit if you've practiced a bit. But I definitely am a little bit more anxious on stream still than I'd like to be. I haven't had a chance yet. It's been a crazy week, but I'm hoping in the next. Oh, look, like no pressure. Honestly, no pressure, but just he is I don't think he counts as weird fiction. Well, at least that the Conan series doesn't. But he wrote so many more things. He also wrote poetry as well. He had a couple of other characters that became. I think one of his characters, who was like a priest, who had a vendetta, had several vendettas with other people, and was doling out retribution. You know, that kind of lone priest in the desert kind of thing. That I think he was one of the original authors to do that, if not the original guy to do that, before it became sucked up into mainstream culture as an archetype, or a sub archetype. Yeah. You'd be up for a live stream? Nice. I think it's totally doable, and I think they make it quite easy here on YouTube. But yeah, Robert E. Howard, really interesting dude. And tragically died very young, I think at age 36. So yeah, amazing amount of very prolific pulp fiction writer, um, before he died, and had to look after his dying mother, who was sick his entire life. He was really interesting. Dad was a doctor, etc. Right. Yes. Yeah. We'll have to hook up a live stream at some point. Um. Yeah. I don't know how we do that from here on out. Uh. Do you have any contact details on your? What can I? Just like looking around me like I have a pen or something. Oh, actually, I do have a pencil, but I don't want to, out any. I have got a channel email address. Hang on, let me see if I can find which one I'm using for this channel. Ah, yes. Oh, it makes no sense that I'm using that one, but anyway. I will put my. Hang on, I'll just do this. I will make a channel email address. And put it in my channel description. Hang on a second. So, you're off to walk the dog now? Have you walked the dog yet? You said you haven't had coffee, so I imagine you haven't walked the dog yet. Okay. Your channel. I don't know what I'm doing here. Customize channel. There we go. I'm just going to chuck in an email. What is my email address? I think it's this. As long as this isn't showing up on stream. No, I don't think it is. You're seeing my mouse move around, but I'm using another browser window. So, now if this sends, yes, okay, it is that. Okay. What a weird email to use. Okay. Do you know what I mean? I've just chosen a funny one to use. Now, here we go. I will just quickly chuck that in my channel description. Interesting. No, that's the wrong channel. Whoopsie doopsie. Here we go. You have an email for my old podcast. Oh, okay. Starting walk now. I walked her about. Oh, you're starting work now. Okay, cool. Nice. Early to start. Early to start. Oh, I don't know what time it is there, but look, is that information on your channel? If it's on your channel, I will just use the email there and email you directly. But either way, I might put this this email here. Okay. Oh gosh, I keep pressing the wrong buttons. I'm on the spot, Marissa. Anyway, I'm currently working through Hardy Boys. You'll add it. No worries. I will. I'm chucking mine on there now, so you can just reach out to me on that one if you want to. It's at the very bottom of my channel description. In the description bit below the title on the main landing page. Email me at WikiChiller, because originally I had a different concept for this channel. This channel's gone through a few evolutions before it got to this point. WikiChiller at gmail.com. I was going to be like a Wikipedia articles analysis channel. I know that's a bit of a weird niche, but I love going down these rabbit holes, research rabbit holes on Wikipedia. Okay, so I'm publishing that. So email me at wikitiller@gmail.com if you want to collaborate. I'd love that. That would be great, Marissa. Um, okay, and we're back to the story. And Marissa, I hope you have a lovely day. Um, Working, sleeping. Oh no, that's not you. Sorry, you're not the one getting sleep. Your dog gets to sleep now. And then I hope that you have a good day at work and that your planning for whatever you give us next on your channel goes well, because I'll be checking it out as soon as I see it come up. I was pretty slow to the punch last time, so no stress, no worries, and no rush. So don't worry, life is long and the world is large, so I'm sure we'll get it done at some point. All right. Yeah, have a lovely day. I don't know if you're hanging around or not. I'm just going to jump back into the work at hand, mostly because it's 20 minutes to midnight, and I have a bit to get through. I want to finish a chapter and a half before I get on to back to Lafcadio Hearn's stuff, and I would maybe even like to do something else, just a random thing to keep my sanity. I don't like the backlash from planning my streams is that I need to do something a little bit compulsive. Impulsive, not compulsive, impulsive. All right, so where were we? Let's just go back to this. So we're reading chapter 4. Frank and Joe are at school. They're talking to Chet, and they're a bit unhappy with the situation going on with, what do they say? I think their friend has been arrested, and his dad, Jack Dodd, and his father. They were arrested last night for stealing Martin's car. They're both in the Bayport jail. As if you'd go and arrest the father and the son. Like, what the? 1928 was wild. Okay, right. Chet nodded. Yeah, they're coming up for the hearing this morning, but it's sure to be remanded. It's mighty tough because they haven't much money, and it'll be hard for them to raise bail. There it is. All right, and it'll be hard for them to raise bail. There we go. All right. That's my marker. Shut the door, block out. It's raining outside. It's not raining very hard. It's just a little tinkle on the shed roof because this is in my garden shed. This booth is a little shell of isolation and yet at the same time of connection. It's weird. I feel completely isolated when I've closed the door in my own little bubble. Very little. But I also feel extremely connected to the rest of the world because obviously I'm connected to you right now. It's a little box made of used pallet wood, free pallet wood that I could find, salvaged materials. I spent a bit of money on the insulation material on the inside, and all the tech. Yeah, but it connects me to you, and that's great. And boys, it connects me to you in the future, wherever and whenever you are. Whenever, wherever. Okay, stop Shakira singing Shakira. Although that is some of your favorite music, boys. At the moment, you love the two Zootopia songs. Zootopia 1, what's that one again? Try Everything by Shakira, and Zootopia 2, Zoo by Shakira. And older, I think you have a bit of a crush on Shakira because you keep talking about how beautiful she is. So, in your own funny way, I think not funny, in your own way, I think you are quite into Shakira. And, okay. No, no further comment. Okay, right. So let's stop talking about Shakira and we'll go back to 1928 or 29, whenever this was published, and let's get back into this. So who's talking? Chet has just mentioned something. It'll be hard for them to raise bail. Okay, oh gosh. Okay, there we go. Much money, and it will be hard for them to raise bail. Chet's news disturbed the Hardy boys profoundly. For that matter, it had a depressing effect on all the boys in the class. For Jack Dodd was well liked, and all his chums were quite convinced of his innocence of the charge against him. At recess, they gathered in little groups, discussing the misfortune that had befallen him, and at noon, a number of the lads stopped Officer Con Riley on the street and asked if he had heard the outcome of the morning's hearing. "Remanded," said Riley briefly. "For how long?" A week. They'll get about 5 years each, I guess. Wait, no, that's not how Con Riley talks. How do I make Con Riley talk? This is the first time we're seeing him this. He's kind of, I'd make him a bit fusty. I see him as quite thick-set, but in a way that he's not naturally a larger man, but his wife has fed him. You know, he's a very content man and very happy in his job, shall I say. He sits on his laurels and is happy to be a plodding police officer. Okay, so Officer Con Riley, he, tramps the streets of Bayport and makes sure that that all the lampposts don't fly away, kind of thing. So, and how did I make him talk in the other ones? I don't want to look it up. I don't mind if there's not so much consistency between novels, as long as there's consistency within the novel, because each one's its own project. I mean, Frank sounded like this. Hello, my name is Frank, and now I talk like this when I'm Frank. So, and I think I changed that within the same novel. Believe it or not, that's also my top performing views video on the entire channel. Anyway, asked if he had heard the outcome of the morning's hearing. Remanded, said Riley briefly. For how long? A week. They'll get about 5 years each, I guess. Been too much of this here car stealing going on. They're not convicted yet, Frank Hardy pointed out. They will be, declared Riley confidently. We got the goods on 'em. It was one of Mr. Riley's little eccentricities that he preferred to refer to the entire Bayport police force as we, as though he had charge of most of its activities instead of merely, Bayport police force as we, as though he had charge of most of its activities instead of being merely a patrolman on the beat adjacent to the high school. Got the goods on them. Nothing. No, that's not how you'd say it. Patrolman on 1920s kids talk adjacent to the high school. Got the goods on them. Nothing, snorted Chet Morton. A car was found on the Dodd farm, that's all. It's enough, said the unruffled Con. Men have been hung on less evidence than that. Are the Dodds out on bail? Frank inquired. The officer shook his head. Couldn't raise it, he said. They've got to stay in the coop. Even if they may be found innocent later on. Sorry. They've got to stay in the coop. Even if they may be found innocent later on, exclaimed Chet. That's the law, said Riley imperturbably. If they can dig up $5,000 bail, they'll be free until the case comes up. 5,000? They'll never be able to raise that much money. Then, said Officer Riley as he stalked away, they'll stay in the coop. Frank and Joe Hardy went home thoughtfully. At lunch, their father noticed their preoccupation and asked what the matter was. They told him the whole story of the discovery of the automobile on the farm and the finding of the preoccupation and asked what the matter was. They told him the whole story of the discovery of the automobile on the farm, the finding of the rod, Jack's repeated declarations of innocence. I'm sure he didn't do it, Frank declared. He's just not that sort of fellow. And his father is as honest as you are. Thanks for the compliment, laughed Fenton Hardy. And you say they're being held on $5,000 bail? Joe nodded. They'll never raise it. I wonder, Dad, if you'd help us fix it up. The boys looked at their father hopefully. Joe and I. The boys looked at their father hopefully. Joe and I can put up some of our reward money, interjected Frank. We hate to see the Dodds kept in jail. Mr. Hardy was thoughtful. You must have great faith? Faith. Mr. Hardy was thoughtful. You must have great faith in them. We have, Frank declared. They had nothing to do with stealing the car, we're certain. It seems tough that they should have to stay in jail just because it was found on their property. It's the law of the land.
No, okay.
Jail just because it was found on their property.
It's the law of the land. However, as you say, it is rather hard on them. If you lads have enough confidence in the Dodds to put up some of your own money for their bail, I suppose I can do the same. I'll make up the rest of the 5,000.
Hooray!
Shouted Joe. I knew you'd say that, Dad. God, he loves him so much. It's amazing. Good on you, Frank and Joe. Right. Let's move on. Drinks break over.
Shouted
Enough
Joe.
malingering.
I knew you'd say that, Dad.
Mrs. Hardy smiled indulgently from the end of the table. Aunt Gertrude, a peppery old lady who was visiting the Hardys at the time, sniffed in derision. Aunt Gertrude was a maiden lady of advancing years who had very little faith in human nature. Chances are they'll go out and steal another car and run away, she snapped. Waste of money, I call it. Okay. All right, Aunt Gertrude, chill your beans, mate. Waste of money, I call it. I'll take my chances with the boys, laughed Mr. Hardy. $5,000 gone, Aunt Gertrude predicted. I don't think it'll be as bad as all that, Auntie, said Frank, winking at his brother. Wait and see, young man. Wait and see. I've lived in this world a good deal longer than you have. Years longer, said Joe innocently. This reference to her age drew a glare of wrath from over Aunt Gertrude's. Okay, sorry. That's so funny. Longer, said Joe innocently. This reference to her age drew a glare of wrath from over Aunt Gertrude's. I can't. Longer, I'm just picturing her staring him down. I'll just have a little drink. Sorry. I just love Aunt Gertrude so much. Because everything she says usually turns out to be true in a certain way, like from a certain point of view, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would say. So, I mean, not the stuff about everyone dying all the time, but she's got a good head on her shoulders most of the time. She's just really cranky. I mean, she's a maiden, you know? Longer, what are you going to do in 1928 as a maiden? Longer, come on, mate. Joe, innocently. This reference to her age drew a glare of wrath from over Aunt Gertrude's spectacles. I'm older than you are, and I know the ways of the world. It seems you can't trust anybody nowadays. However, in spite of Aunt Gertrude's doleful predictions, Fenton Hardy stood by his promise, and after lunch was predictions. Fenton Hardy stood by his promise. And after lunch was over, oh my gosh, why can't I read a sentence? Fenton Hardy stood by his promise. And after lunch was over, he went with the boys to the office of the district attorney. Oh my gosh. Fenton Sorry Hardy guys, it's midnight here. Promise. And after lunch was over, he went with the boys to the office of the district attorney, where they put up bail to the amount of $5,000 for the release of Jack Dodd and his father, pending trial. In a few minutes, father and son were free. When they learned the identity of their benefactors, their gratitude was almost unbounded. We have been behind the bars right until the day of the trial, declared Mr. Dodd. I don't know how to thank you. I give you my word you'll have no cause to regret it. We know that, Mr. Hardy assured him. Don't worry. You're real chums, declared Jack to the boys. Oh, forget it, Joe said, embarrassed. You'd do the same for us if it were the other way round. Good on you, Joe. What a legend. You'd do the same for us if it were the other way round. No, he sounds a bit smug there. Oh. Chums, declared Jack to the boys. Ah, forget it, Joe said, embarrassed. You'd do the same for us if it were the other way round. If you run across any information that might help us find who left the car on your farm, let us know, put in Frank. And, by the way, see if you can find out where Gus Montrose is now and what he's doing. I have an idea that fellow knows something. I haven't heard anything about him, but I'll try to find out, Jack promised. Are you going back home now? I don't know. I hate to miss any more school, for I've been a bit behind in my work. Go on to... Come on. Been a bit behind in my work. Go on to school with the boys, advised Mr. Dodd. I'll go back home alone. No use losing any time than can be helped. Any more time. Read the words, mate, advised Mr. Dodd. I'll go back home alone. No use losing any more time than can be helped. Fenton Hardy nodded his head in approval of this sensible advice, and the boys went on to school together, where Jack Dodd received an enthusiastic welcome from his classmates, all of whom stoutly asserted their belief in his innocence, and confidently predicted that he would come through his ordeal with flying colors. It's a crying shame ever to have arrested you, said one of the lads, loyally. Oh, the police of this town are a lot of doughheads, said another. It's not the fault of the police exactly, Frank pointed out. It was also the state troopers and detectives. Forgot to breathe. It was also the state troopers and detectives. But Jack is innocent, came from several of the lads in unison. Of course he is, and so is his father, answered Joe. Gee, if only they round up the real thieves, sighed one of the other boys. Why, my dad won't let me park our car anywhere near the shore road anymore. My dad is getting so he won't hardly park anywhere, added another lad. And all, hardly park anywhere, added another lad. And at this there was a general laugh. Those thieves are getting on everybody's nerves. They ought to be rounded up. Yes, and the sooner, the better, declared Frank. The kind words of his chums were very pleasing to Jack Dodd. Yet he was very sober as he entered the school building. He could not help but think of what might happen if he and his father could not clear their name. We may have to go to prison after all, he sighed. No, that's a bit if he and his father
accepting.
could not clear their name. We may have to go to prison after all, he sighed dolefully. No, see, I like to finish chapters with a downbeat on the last inflection of the last word, you know what I mean? He sighed dolefully, and that way it's kind of an indicator to the listener that that's the end of the chapter. I don't know, it's not very original, but it's kind of something that I've do with, especially cool stuff like classic tales like this. So let's finish the chapter on a downbeat inflection, because he is downbeat as well. If he and his father could not clear their name. We may have to go to prison after all, he sighed dolefully. It's better. All right, okay. Save it, good habits, and I think I've got one more chapter in me. And then we're going to move over to this one, the other project of the night, which is Mujina. We're going to go from 1928 America to 1904 Japan. On the Akasaka Road in Tokyo. But for now, we're still in America. And this is chapter 5. Let's go. Let's do it. All right. If you're in the chat and you want to lurk and you want to just hang out, welcome. If you want to say hi, that's cool too. No stress, no worries. Would be lovely if you could like the video. The stream, video, thing. Anyway, let's keep going. We're reading Hardy Boys, The Shore Road Mystery. Let's do it. He sighed dolefully. Chapter 5. More Thieving. After school the following afternoon, the Hardy Boys repaired to the boathouse at the end of the street, where they kept their fast motorboat, the Sleuth. They had bought this boat out of money they had received as a reward for their work in clearing up the mystery of the Tower treasure and in the capture of a band of smugglers. It was a speedy craft, and the boys had enjoyed many happy hours in it. Tony Pritto, one of their chums, an Italian-American lad, also owned a motorboat, the Napoli, as did Biff Hooper, the proud skipper of the Envoy. Tony's boat had been the fastest craft on Barmet Bay until the arrival of the sleuth, and there was much friendly rivalry between the boys as to the speed of their respective boats. Chet Morton was sitting in the sleuth, awaiting Joe and Frank by appointment. "Come on," he said. "Tony and Biff are out in the bay already." The Hardy boys sprang into their craft, and in a few minutes the sleuth was nosing its way out into Barmet Bay. The boys could see the other boats circling about as Tony and Biff awaited their arrival. Tony waved to them, and in a short time they drew alongside the Napoli. "Where shall we go?" shouted Frank. Now, if you're in the stream, you've just got to understand, I made a choice a long time ago that if it says that someone is a particular culture, I was going to respectfully, but also I'm just so bad at it, I was going to try and commit a little bit to the spirit of the thing. Just a disclaimer and a caveat, obviously, I don't agree with the stereotypical accents that come along with 1928 writing. For example, the last Hardy Boys that I read, it really actually made me stop for like a whole week when I had to do a chapter that was like African American actors, and the way they wrote the character voices was just so quite clearly like massa, like slave-like, a stereotypical plantation slave. Although at the time it would have been quite a progressive text because it was them doing these young white boys a favor, and the young white boys were really grateful, and nothing was mentioned about race or culture between them. But there were a lot of, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about a particular time period of writing. So, look, when they say Tony Prideaux is an Italian-American youth, I imagine that he has quite a stereotypical, in the author's mind, stereotypical accent. And this is what I've come up with. Look, I'm sorry, I'll stop talking about it. It's just, I've never had to do this with someone looking at me doing it, okay? So my wife, when she hears it, when we listen to this we listen to our Hardy Boys novels with the boys at bedtimes, I just hear her laughing her butt off. Like sometimes she's just like, she's like, "You're such an idiot." And she's got an accent herself. She's not like an accent different to mine. That is, everyone's got an accent. So she's laughing at me with her Irish accent and her Northern Irish accent, and telling me how much of an idiot I am for my Italian American accent, which is just terrible. Anyway, not as bad as my Northern Irish accent though. Short time they drew alongside the Napoli. Chet Morton. Wait, no. Short time they drew alongside the Napoli. "Where shall we go?" shouted Frank. "Anywhere that suits me. Might as well just to cruise around." I'm sorry. I can't do it. Okay. Short time they drew alongside the Napoli. "Where shall we go?" shouted Frank. Anywhere that suits me. Might as well just cruise around." Like, that's not an Italian accent. What the hell is that? But that's a Tony Prideaux accent for me, okay? That's what I have decided Tony sounds like. I'm so, like, it's silly. I'm sorry. All right. And it's, like I said, it's pandering to stereotypes, but stereotypes that were around in the 1920s. Might as well just cruise around. Okay. Might as well just cruise around. There was a roar as the Envoy surged up, with Biff at the wheel. Jerry Gilroy and Phil Cohen were with him. I don't suppose... Oh, hang on. That's a weird sentence. Might as well just cruise around. There was a roar as the Envoy surged up, with Biff at the wheel. Jerry Gilroy and Phil Cohen were with him. That's a weird sentence. What's with those commas? Around. There was a roar as the Envoy surged up, with Biff at the wheel. Jerry Gilroy and Phil Cohen were with him. I don't suppose you want to go to Black Snake Island, do you, Biff? Called out Joe. I'll say I don't. Once is enough. Me too, chimed in Chet, as the three boats running abreast headed in the direction of Barmet Village.
we're about to get the background on why they hate Black Snake Island. That was 2 books ago in the series. Breast, headed in the direction of Barmett Village. Pardon me. Black Snake Island, out in the open sea, some distance down the coast, had been the scene of perilous adventures for the chums. Some time previous, Chet Morton and Biff Hooper had gone out in Biff's launch and had been kidnapped by a gang of crooks who mistook them for the Hardy Boys and who wished to revenge themselves upon Fenton Hardy. They had been taken to revenge themselves upon Fenton Hardy. They had been taken to Black Snake Island, as has already been told in the 4th volume of this series, The Missing Chums. Just a little aside, I love how each book kind of advertises the book before it, or the books before it. I love it. And it explicitly says, like, it goes all meta, it breaks the 4th wall, and it's like, hey, just in case you want to go buy it, it's called The Missing Chums. It's just great. I love it. More of that. I love an explicit author volume of this series. It's of its time. Chums. I never want to see the place again, shouted Biff. I had enough of it last... Never want to see the place again, shouted Biff. I had enough of it to last me a lifetime. I want to see the place again, shouted Biff. I had enough of it to last me a lifetime. Between snakes and crooks, we had plenty of excitement, Frank said. Excitement? Declared Chet, settling back comfortably. Why, I'm sure that was... What? Oh, he's nonchalant, Frank said. He's being plenty of excitement, right? Frank said. That's not Frank's voice. I had enough of it to last me a lifetime. I had enough of it to last me a lifetime. Between snakes and crooks, we had plenty of excitement, Frank said. Excitement? Huh, declared Chet, settling back comfortably. Why, I'm sure that was nothing. What do you mean, nothing? Demanded Joe. If anything more exciting ever happened to you, I'd like to hear of it. Haven't I ever told you of the time I was the only survivor of a shipwreck that cost 94 lives? His comrades looked at Chet suspiciously. Chet Morton's joking proclivities were well known. His jests were invariably harmless, but he dearly loved a laugh, and some of his hair-raising fictions were famous among the boys. First time I've ever heard of it, said Frank. Frank said, come on, man. Hair-raising fictions were famous among the boys. First time I've ever heard of it, Frank said. When were you ever in a shipwreck that cost 94 lives? Off Cape Cod in 23, declared Chet. Oh, wait, no. Dramatically. I've got to go back and add dramatically to that. In a shipwreck that cost 94 lives. Off Cape Cod in 23, declared Chet, dramatically. It was the night the good ship Brannigan went down with all on board. But that was a terrible night. As long as I live, I'll never forget it. Never? I don't think you even remember it, sniffed Frank. But Chet went on, getting up steam. The Brannigan left Boston Harbor at 4 bells, and there was a dirty sea running with a stiff breeze from the north. I had booked my passage early in the morning, but as sailing time approached, my friends beseeched me not to go. It is death, they told me, but I merely laughed. Chet Morton is not afraid of storms. I shall sail. The Brannigan was not out of sight of the shore. Morton is not afraid of storms. I shall sail. The Brannigan was not out of sight of shore before the storm broke in all its fury. Thunder and lightning and a roaring rain. It was the worst storm in 20 years, the captain said. The passengers huddled in their cabins, sick with fear. Some of them were seasick, too. The storm grew worse. Some of them were seasick, too. The storm grew worse. This sounds like a big whopper, declared Joe, interested in spite of himself. Chet's face was solemn as he continued. Night fell. The waves rolled over the staunch little ship. The helmsman clung to the wheel, down in the lee scuppers, whatever they are. The first mate lay with a broken leg. Down in the forecastle, How do you say forecastle? Is it like... I don't know how to say this. Forecastle. I knew there was something about the forecastle. You say forecastle. That's it. Go your instinct, mate. Good on you for instinct. Yeah. The first mate lay with a broken leg. The first mate lay with a broken leg. All right, down in the forecastle. Yeah. The first mate lay with a broken leg. Down in the forecastle, the crew talked mutiny. Then came a dreadful cry. A leak! The ship has sprung a leak, and by golly it had. The skipper came down from the bridge. Take to the boats, he cried. Women and children first. But the Brannigan was sinking fast by the stern. Before they could launch a single boat, the ship sank swiftly, and 85 people went to a watery grave. He shook his head sadly, as though reflecting on this horrible tragedy. 85? As though reflecting on this horrible tragedy. 85, said Frank. A little while ago you told us 94. 94 lives, Chet pointed out. 85 people, but 94 lives. The ship's cat was drowned too. Joe snorted as he saw how neatly Frank had fallen into the trap. Frank looked foolish. Then Joe spoke, chuckling. And you were the only survivor, he exclaimed. How did you escape? Chet stood up and gazed out over the waves. I missed the boat, he explained gently. Joe glared wrathfully at the jester, then jumped for the wheel. He bore down on it so suddenly that the nose of the sleuth veered into the wind, and Chet was thrown off his balance, sitting down heavily in the bottom of the craft with a yelp of surprise. That'll teach you. Bottom of the craft with a yelp of surprise. That'll teach you, said Joe grimly, struggling to... Come on, mate, read the words. With a yelp of surprise. That'll teach you, said Joe grimly, struggling to suppress his laughter at Chet's melodramatic tale of the shipwreck. But the plump youth only grinned. Oh, boy, how you both bit, he exploded. How you gaped! You didn't know whether to believe it or not. He roared with laughter. Wait till I tell the others about this. How about the other 9 lives? How did you escape? Wow. He sat in the bottom of the boat and laughed until the tears came to his eyes. Frank and Joe joined in the laugh against themselves, for they were accustomed to Chet by now. Biff and Tony, come on, mate, read the words. So they were accustomed to Chet by now. Biff and Tony steered their boats over toward the sleuth to learn the cause of all this mirth, but the boys refused to enlighten them as Chet wanted to reserve the yarn for a more convenient occasion when he might have... No, come on, mate. Toward the sleuth to learn the cause of all this mirth. But the boys refused to enlighten them, as Chet wanted to reserve the yarn for a more convenient occasion when he might have some fresh victims. For over an hour, the 3 motorboats raced about the bay until the boys were aware that it was time to go home. The sleuth reached the boathouse first, with the Napoli close behind, Biff Hooper's craft bringing up the rear. The launches safely in the slips, the 6 boys went up the street toward their homes. Going to try for the rewards? Asked Jerry Gilroy of the Hardy Boys. Frank smiled. We won't turn them down if we happen to run into the auto thieves, he said. $1,000 is a lot of money. Not to you, said Biff. What do you 2 want with money after landing a fat reward in that gold case out west? Hang on a second, I think I've just phlegmed into the microphone. Let me listen back. Sorry. We won't turn them down if we happen to run into the auto thieves, he said. $1,000 is a lot of money. Yeah, there was a little click. See that little click there? At the end of money, click. All right. We happen to run into the auto thieves. Pardon, he said. $1,000 is a lot of money." "Oh, not to you," said Biff. "What do you two want with money after landing a fat reward in that gold case out west?" He was referring to a case centering about some missing gold, in which the boys had gone all the way to Montana from their home on the Atlantic coast in order to help their father, who had fallen ill while tracking down the criminals. Their good work in this case had netted them a handsome sum of money, and they had the satisfaction of seeing their friend Jadbury Wilson, an old-time prospector who had come to Bayport to live, relieved from poverty. He had once... No, read the words. Bayport to live, relieved from poverty. He had been one of the original owners of the gold and, following its disappearance, had fallen upon evil days. "One can always use more money, you know," said Frank. "It'll come in handy if we ever go to college." "I'll tell the world," declared Chet. "Your father won't have to worry much about that." I wish my dad could say the same. They had now reached the Hardy home, and Frank and Joe said goodbye to their chums. When they went into the house... No, I think I'll put a natural pause there. Frank and Joe said
Passage of time means natural pause.
When they went into the house, they found that supper was almost ready. Aunt Gertrude sniffed as they appeared, and expressed her amazement that they had managed to get home before mealtime. "For a wonder," she said grimly. Fenton Hardy emerged from his study. His face was serious. "Well," hang on, nose click. Fenton Hardy emerged from his study. His face was serious. "Well," he said, I suppose you've heard the latest development?" The boys looked at him blankly. "Development in what?" asked Joe. "In the car thefts." "We haven't heard anything," Frank said. "Have they found the thieves?" Mr. Hardy shook his head. No such luck. The thieves are still very much at large." "You don't mean to say another car was stolen?" exclaimed Joe. "Not only one, 2 cars." He sounds too much like Joe there. "Another car was stolen?" exclaimed Joe. Not only one, 2 cars." "2 more?" Their father nodded. 2 brand new autos, a Franklin and a Studebaker. Studebaker? Studebaker would be, how do you say, is it Studebaker? How do you say Studebaker? Oh God, we're going to go rabbit hole now. We've got to go full on rabbit hole now. How do you say this car name? Studebaker. Oh my gosh. History of Studebaker. Here we go. That'll be good. All right, let me know if this is too loud in the chat. Oh gosh, if it ever loads. I want to hear how they say Studebaker. Studebaker. I don't know anything about cars, obviously. Sorry, my passion involves 4 walls and some noise insulation, or running down a trail. It doesn't usually involve 4 wheels. So, oh crikey, I don't think it's going to play, guys. Can we refresh? Let's see what happens. So this is by the channel, should give a bit of vocal credit, The 2 Guys in a Ride, and it's called History of Studebaker, From Wagon Makers to Automotive Legends, although I don't know if it's going to play. Here we go. Here we go.
And today, I invite you to join me on a journey through time as I explore the countless milestones and achievements of the Studebaker Automobile Company.
The Studebaker Automobile Company. Okay, right, so Studebaker. 2 brand new autos. Here we go.
2 more?
Pardon me. Father nodded. 2 brand new autos, a Franklin and a Studebaker with... Read the
2
words,
more?
mate. Their father nodded. 2 brand new autos, a Franklin and a
2 more?
Their father nodded. 2 brand new autos, a Franklin and a Studebaker, were stolen last night, he told them. Right in the city. Good night. And there's been no trace of them? Not a sign. The police kept it quiet all day, hoping to recover them without any fuss, but
They've had to admit themselves beaten. The cars have absolutely disappeared. Aunt Gertrude spoke up. Mighty funny there were no cars stolen while those Dodds were in jail, she said, pointedly. The minute they get out, away go 2 new automobiles. The boys glanced at one another uncomfortably. They were quite convinced that Jack Dodd and his father were innocent of any complicity in the car thefts, but they had to admit to themselves that their aunt had expressed a suspicion that might be commonly maintained throughout Bayport. The Dodds didn't have anything to do with it, said Fenton Hardy quietly. I'm sure of that. Still, it looks bad. It certainly does, declared Aunt Gertrude. Frank turned to his brother. Hang on. Aunt Gertrude certainly does, declared Aunt Gertrude. Frank turned to his brother. It's time for us to get busy, he said. We'll go out on the shore road again tomorrow afternoon. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. So here's what I love about the Frank and Hardy, the Hardy boys as well. I like it here how it says, what does it say here? They were quite convinced that Jack Dodd and his father were innocent of any complicity in the car thefts, but they had to admit to themselves that their aunt had expressed a suspicion that might be commonly maintained throughout Bayport. What I love about this is they don't treat their audience completely like idiots, especially in the 1920s. Great, because they, not that kids were treated like idiots in the 1920s, they were given a lot more trust than we give kids these days. But they don't pander. They talk truly about what the problem is. It's not the fact that there is a correlation there and they're like, oh, it could be true, Aunt Gertrude could be right. They're very clearly saying, no, this is a correlation, not a causation. But Aunt Gertrude speaks for the lowest common denominator, basically, like the middle England, middle of the road opinion that's going to be on the streets of Bayport. I like that. That's rad. I quite like that. Now, I do want to move on because I've done 2 chapters tonight. That's great. We're at a total recording time for the audiobook of the mystery, the Shore Road Mystery. Here we go back to the top here. The Shore Road Mystery by Franklin W. Dixon, published in 1928. By Grosset and Dunlap Incorporated. Okay, so we've done 2 chapters. I've gotten back on the horse. I've been away from recording from this for 2 months or so. So now we've done chapter 1, Stolen Cars, 2, Circumstantial Evidence, chapter 3, Under Suspicion. Tonight we've done chapter 4, Out on Bail, and chapter 5, More Thieving. So I could go on, but I also have another mission to do tonight to fulfill, and that is I would like to open up this other file here, which is called Jikininki, and that was from this one here. We're going to switch over here. Hello in the chat. Say hi, don't say hi, all good. Welcome anyway, welcome to the channel. We are doing raw recording, mastering, and editing of audiobook content on these streams, and you are most welcome to join us. Hi. As you can hear, statistically speaking, you're probably not Australian based on the time of day because it's 12:23 a.m. So hello, wherever you are in the world. So I've opened up the last story I did from this book by Lafcadio O'Hearn, an American author a journalist who moved to Japan and wrote down all these Japanese lore stories, like legends and stuff like that. Stories and Studies of Strange Things is probably one of his most famous works. It's an anthology of Japanese folklore tales. And we're switching up from the Hardy Boys in the 1920s to a 1904 anthology of these stories. The whole anthology is called Kwaidan. I think it's supposed to be pronounced Kwaidan, not Kwaidan, but I could be wrong there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to quickly save this file from the last one because it has all the formatting, the effects, my filter effects on the voice from Jikininki, who was the last one we read, and we're going to move on to Mujina today. Our aim is, because Mujina is very short, we're going to at least finish Mujina,
I'm going to master it, edit it, because it's very short. Like, what are we talking here? Word count, let's just have a quick look. Mujina is only 576 words. This is going to be very short. This is going to be like maybe 6 minutes long, maybe. We're going to get this done. We're going to master it, edit it, create a thumbnail, and we're going to upload it to this very channel. If you go to the main landing page of the channel, you'll see that I'm going lately, especially since I've started the live streams, I'm going with a very simple thumbnail design. Sorry, it's really hot in here. I've got a temperature gauge up there, a thermometer. In the booth tonight, that was me just opening the door, it is 37 degrees Celsius because I've locked myself in to read that last couple of chapters of the Hardy Boys. Whew, what a scorcher. Okay, so we're going to read Mujina, create it, edit it, master it, upload it to YouTube on this channel. And this channel is dedicated to my two sons. In the future, for when they want to, if they want to, listen to my voice. So we're going to save this, and what is it called again? Mujina. Mujina, we'll save it as Mujina Raw. Not like roar, like raw, if you're in America. Because our raw and our raw sound completely the same, but it's context. Whew. Okay, we're going to do a quick fan check. Oh, this is my biggest fan. That's a joke. That's the kind of humor you can get here. If I see if I see my viewers go from 1 to 0, I'll know that my joke will stay with you forever as one of the best jokes you've ever heard. Okay, right, I'm just going to turn this on for a second. Literally just going to fan myself. Jeez Louise, it's hot. Crikey. I'm just going to put it up top. I put it up high in the booth, and that blows all the hot air. This booth is, I don't know what the measurements would be in American. Like, what do you measure it in? Football stadiums or school buses or something? I think this is probably about 0.1 of a school bus long. In Australia, we measure in bananas. This is about 15 to 20 bananas long, depending on the size of the banana. Not that size of banana matters, it's more about the flavor, right? That's what they tell me. It's what my wife tells me. So, sorry. That's also the humor you might get sometimes. Sorry about that. So I think it's about 1.8 meters, because I can just about lay down in it lengthwise. It's about 1.9 meters tall, like high. And it is, hang on, you might get a better view here. Here we go. I think you can see me a bit better now. So yeah, it's really narrow. It's like 1 meter wide. So yeah, and this is it. I'm literally sitting in a padded cell. Okay, that's enough fanning for now. Okay. Oh, bye-bye cool air. And hello cool story. All right, we're gonna get going. Let's get back to this. Whoop, there it is. Okay. Oh, bye-bye. Cool, fresh air. Hello. Stale air, but very soundproof air. Okay. Pardon me. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to read Mujina. I'm going to have to introduce it, as I do all my audiobooks, to my sons and to the general audience, so you're going to hear a bit of a generic and yet heartfelt, always heartfelt, dedication to my sons. So if you hate the love word coming from men toward other men, as in my sons, get out of here. It's nearly 12:30 a.m. Let's get going. Now I'm going to need to do this here. Mujina. Here we go. G'day guys, welcome back to Boring Dad Sleep Stories. Today we're going to continue reading our anthology of short stories from Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things by Lafcadio Hearn. And today we're going to read what's it called again? Studies of Strange Things by Lafcadio Hearn. And today the short story we will read is Mujina, Studies of Strange Things by Lafcadio Hearn. Our selected short story from this anthology today is called Mujina, and Kwaidan was published in 1904. And just a little reminder, this entire channel is dedicated to my two sons, who are currently 6 and 3 years old. Boys, your mum and I love you so much, just for being you. Let's go. Avanti. All right, now that I've done my sign-in, I'm going to just quickly change this view to our multi-view. All right, Mujina, Mujina. Here we are, here we are. All right, let's get going. I think you guys can see that bit. You're not seeing my whole browser screen, but I try and make sure that what I'm reading is on the screen for you. And we're going to quickly save the file before we go. Good habits. You can see up in the top left corner my recording file, and you can also see what I'm reading. Let's go. These pronunciations are going to get me, especially coming from 1920s America and the Hardy Boys to this, to 1904 Japan, but we'll give it a crack. All right. Well, there you go. That was a false start. On the Akaska, Avanti. On the Akaska Road in Tokyo, there is a slope called Ki no Kunizaka, which means the slope of the province of Ki. I do not know why it is called the slope of the province of Ki. On one side of this slope, you see an ancient moat, deep and very wide, with high green banks rising up to some place of gardens, and on the other side of the road extend the long and lofty walls of an imperial palace. Before the era of street lamps and jinrikishas, how do you pronounce that? Okay, we're going to look this up. I'm sorry. Jinrikishas. No, I'm going to give that a go. Let's do that. And lofty walls of an imperial palace. Before the era of street lamps and jinrikishas, this neighborhood was very lonesome after dark, and belated pedestrians would go miles out of their way rather than mount the Ki no Kunizaka alone after sunset, all because of a mujina that used to walk there. The last man who saw the mujina was an old merchant of the Kyobashi quarter. Kyobashi quarter. The last of a mujina that used to walk there. The last man who saw the mujina was an old merchant of the Kyobashi quarter, who died about 30 years ago. This is the story as he told it. One night, at a late hour, he was hurrying up the Ki no Kunizaka when he perceived a woman crouching by the moat, all alone, and weeping bitterly. Fearing that she intended to drown herself, he stopped to offer her any assistance or consolation in his power. She appeared to be a slight and graceful person, handsomely dressed, and her hair was arranged like that of a young girl of good family. "O Jochu," he exclaimed, approaching her. "O Jochu, do not cry like that. Tell me what the trouble is, and if there be any way to help you, I shall be glad to help you." He really meant what he said, for he was a very kind man. But she continued to weep, hiding her face from him with one of her long sleeves. "O Jochu," he said again. Gently. Damn, that wasn't gentle. Face from him with one of her long sleeves. "O Jochu," he said again, as gently as he could. Please listen to me. This is no place for a young lady at night. Do not cry, I implore you. Only tell me how I may be of some help to you." Slowly, she rose up, but turned her back to him and continued to moan and sob behind her sleeve. He laid his hand lightly upon her shoulder and pleaded, "O Jochu, O Jochu, O Jochu, listen to me, just for one little moment. O Jochu, O Jochu." And then, little moment. "O Jochu, O Jochu." And then, little moment. "O Jochu, O Jochu." Then that O Jochu turned around and dropped her sleeve
and stroked her face with her hand. And the man saw that she had no eyes, or nose, or mouth, and he screamed and ran away. Up Kinozuka. He screamed and ran away. Up Ki no Kunizaka. He screamed. Ki no Kunizaka ran away. Up Ki no Kunizaka he ran, and all was black and empty before him. On and on he ran, never daring to look back. And at last he saw a lantern so far away that it looked like the gleam of a firefly, and he made for it. It proved to be only the lantern of an itinerant soba seller, who had set down his stand by the roadside. But any light and any human companionship was good after that experience. And he flung himself down at the feet of the soba seller, crying out, Kore, Kore, roughly exclaimed the soba man. Here, what is the matter with you? Anybody hurt you? No, nobody hurt me, panted the other. Only scared you? Queried the peddler. Oh, he's unsympathetic. Only scared you? Queried the... No, I want to make him a bit more callous. Only scared you? Queried the peddler, unsympathetically. Robbers? Not robbers. Not robbers, gasped the terrified man. I saw a woman by the moat, and she showed me. Oh, I cannot tell you what she showed me. Hey, was it anything like this that she showed you? Cried the soba man, stroking his own. Oh, hang on. Oh, Christ, is he one too? Jesus. Was it anything like this? Tell you what she showed me. Hey, was it anything like this that she showed you? Cried the soba man, stroking his own face, which therewith became like unto an egg, and simultaneously the light went out. Jeez Louise, that's terrifying. Sorry, I've got goosebumps from that. I've literally read myself into goosebumps. Not because of the good audio, it's terrible reading, but like I'm not under any illusions about that. But that's terrifying. It's a ghost story. It's a proper ghost story. Oh, no wonder no one goes there after dark. You should, if you like the sound of that, Mujina, then you've got to listen to the one from last stream, Jikininki, which is a finished audiobook that I've got up on the channel. Equally terrifying, like about a demon that eats corpses, rotting flesh. It's just like, this is ghastly stuff. I love it though. I can't look away, you know what I mean? It's proper horror, and written in 1904. It's proper good. That's interesting. Can I just point out here, the soba man stroking his own face, which therewith became like unto an egg. Now this is a bit of a segue. If you've seen K-pop Demon Hunters, if you're a parent like me and you've seen K-pop Demon Hunters 20 or 30 times in the last year, you'll notice that there are different kinds of demons. And I won't go into it too much because I've actually done a little analysis of the different kinds of demons in K-pop Demon Hunters on this channel. If you go back long enough through the videos, you'll see it. But yeah, egg-headed demons are one of the types in Korean folklore as well, and they're in K-pop Demon Hunters when they're attacked on the train, if you know your K-pop Demon Hunters scenes. And they are supposed to be, are they the ones I'm thinking? Yeah, they're the ones I'm thinking of. Yeah, and they are supposed to be extra terrifying because because they lack facial features. So I think are they called dalgalguishin? Dalgalguishin, in Korean, South Korean. And I don't know what they're called. Oh no, I do know what they're called here. No, they're not. Mujina. Mujina. What does Mujina translate to? Mujina. I bet it said, yeah, okay, here we go. Let's have a look. Mujina is an old Japanese term
primarily referring to a Japanese badger. No, that's not what we're thinking of. But traditionally to the Japanese raccoon dog. Adding to the confusion, yes, it is confusing. Thank you for pointing that out. It may also refer to the introduced masked palm civet. And in some regions, badger-like animals or Japanese raccoon dogs are also called mami. Well, that's not helpful. In folklore, here we go. Mujina, which could be raccoon, dog, or badger, are frequently depicted as yokai that shapeshift and deceive humans. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, nice. Oh, look, it even mentions the story we just read. The story in Lafcadio O'Hearn's Kwaidan collections called Mujina, which is what we just read, about the witnessing of a faceless ghost, a noperabo is also well known. Double P is like you hold the p, you don't go nopera, you say nopera. Bo is also well known. Cool. The faceless ghost. Okay, nice. Wow, this is interesting. In Honolulu, there was a sighting of a Mujina. Very interesting. At a drive-in. Huh. Grant has also reported on a number of other Mujina sightings in Hawaii, from Ewa Beach to Hilo, or however you say that. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, culturally speaking, that doesn't surprise me at all. There's a large number of Japanese there's a large number of Japanese origin or heritage people in Hawaii, aren't there? So that doesn't surprise me at all. That there are Japanese ghost sightings in Hawaii because there are a lot of Japanese people living there. If there were Australian people who'd settled there, then they would be the what are they called? We have a local kind of abominable snowman, but in our local rainforest area where I live in the northern half of Queensland here, and it's called the Kamuchi Man, which is confusing because that can also mean a wise man in one of the local indigenous communities, but it is also kind of like a forest version of Bigfoot, a rainforest version of Bigfoot. There's also Quinkin, and Quinkins steal your children. They steal naughty children from their parents in Aboriginal culture as well. So, yeah, we have our own stuff. So if we were in Hawaii, that would be a story about Quinkin, or it would be a story about the Kamuchi Man or something like that. Okay, look, we've read it. Now we're going to master it. Here's how we do it. We save it, first of all. Now, this is a bit dodgy because you guys don't get to see what I'm actually doing. But what I'm going to do, first of all, is you'll see some of the stuff. You'll see all these little black lines here. And that is where I had to re-record because of my dodgy reading. Now, I'm going to merge all those together to make it one long audio file. We're going to proof listen to it after we have mastered it. I'm going to apply a mastering macro to it. All this does is it applies a couple of different modifications to the noise level, the peak noises, and the average noise level across the whole thing. You can see it changing shape there. And what it's doing is making it acceptable, actually, for Audible. It's called an Audible macro, or ACX macro, or whatever you want to call it. It gets it ready to be put on Audible. Not that I'm going to do that with this. Not that I even can very easily. Australians don't really have access to ACX or Audible, which is something they need to address. I can't even do voice acting for it. Anyway, it's a bugbear for another day. Let's talk about that another day. But yeah, I have to work third-party style for people to get my audiobook work, my voice actor work onto Audible. They have to get it off me and then go through third parties if they're Australian, or I have to work for Americans or English or British people who can put it on Audible for me. It's not very cool. I don't like that. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're reducing the background noise, and you're not going to get to see that much. But once we've done this, we're going to do a listen through. So hang tight. Okay, stay with me. I'm just going to apply that macro once more, the noise reduction for the background noise, which is also called the noise floor. I'm reducing the noise floor, which is like in between words and paragraphs and sentences. You'll hear that, like if it's been recorded at home, you'll hear like the fans in the background, or
the air conditioner or, a hum or the traffic from outside. This takes that kind of stuff away. You can't overdo it though, or it makes the rest of the audio sound really tinny. So now we're going to do a listen through. We're going to do a listen through of that entire audiobook. You will see me stop and probably fiddle around with little bits that I see where there's been clicks and mouth noises and stuff like that. I might even have to re-record some of it. This is what you do when you record audiobooks. So, yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's go. G'day guys, welcome back to Boring Dad Sleep Stories. Today we're going to continue reading our anthology of short stories from Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things by Lafcadio Hearn. That's a bit better. Our selected short story from this anthology today is called Mujina, and Kwaidan was published in 1904. And just a little reminder, this entire channel is dedicated to my two sons, who are currently 6 and 3 years old. Boys, your mum and I love you so much, just for being you. Let's go. We do. Avanti. Love you guys. Okay, so here I'm just going to get rid of that section. I'm also going to select that. I'm going to do this thing called punch copy. Don't worry about it. Look it up if you want to know about more about it. But I'm going to use punch copy and punch paste, which is a very useful thing to do, especially in Audacity, the free editing software I use. On the Akasuka Road in Tokyo, there is a slope called Ki no Kunizaka. If you hear me, if you're in that chat right now and you hear that I've missed, so you can see the writing and you can hear the audio, you see that I've read the wrong words out, please do let me know. I'd like to get it right. So I'm going to be listening and reading along as well. There is a slope called Ki no Kunizaka, which means the slope of the province of Ki. I do not know why it is called the slope of the province of Ki. On one side of this slope, you see an ancient moat, deep and very wide, with high green banks rising up to some place of gardens, and on the other side of the road extend the long and lofty walls of an imperial palace. Before the era of street lamps and jinrikishas, this neighborhood was very lonesome after dark, and belated pedestrians would go miles out of their way rather than mount the Ki no Kunizaka alone after sunset, all because of a mujina that used to walk there. The last man who saw the mujina was an old merchant of the Kyobashi quarter who died about 30 years ago. This is the story as he told it. One night, at a late hour, he was hurrying up the Ki no Kunizaka when he perceived a woman crouching by the moat, all alone and weeping bitterly. Fearing that she intended to drown herself, he stopped to offer her any assistance or consolation in his power. She appeared to be a slight and graceful person, handsomely dressed, and her hair was arranged like that of a young girl of good family. "O Jochu," he exclaimed, approaching her. "O Jochu, do not cry like that. Tell me what the trouble is, and if there be any way to help you, I shall be glad to help you." He really meant what he said, for he was a very kind man. But she continued to weep, hiding her face from him with one of her long sleeves. "O Jochu," he said again, as gently as he could. Please listen to me. This is no place for a young lady at night. Do not cry, I implore you. Only tell me how I may be of some help to you." Okay, based on the punctuation there, I'm just going to reduce the gap between that and that. "I implore you." And also, I think it'll hit a bit harder. He's getting more desperate. He's like, "What's up with this girl?" "Do not cry, I implore you. Only tell me how I may be of some help to you." Better. Slowly, she rose up. Hang on. What was that little mouth click there? Slowly. There. And we're going to go in close. We're going to take out this little chunk from the spectrograph. Do a spectral delete. Slowly. Yeah, better. Slowly, she rose up, but turned her back to him and continued to moan and sob behind her sleeve. He laid his hand lightly upon her. Once again, there's like a mouth click there.
He laid his hand lightly upon her shoulder and
It'll be fine.
lightly upon her shoulder and pleaded, Ojochu, 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 listen to me, just for one little moment, Ojochu, Ojochu. Then,
there's a little background noise there. Punch, paste.
Then, that Ojochu turned. Then,
oh man, I must be dehydrated. I mean, I did scull. I had a massive coffee before I came out.
Then, that Ojochu turned around and dropped her sleeve and stroked her face with her hand. And the man saw that she had no eyes, or nose, or mouth, and he screamed and ran away. Up Ki no Kunizaka he ran, and all was black and empty before him. On and on he ran, never daring to look back. And at last he saw a lantern so far away that it looked like the gleam of a firefly, and he made for it.
It's going to be spooky.
It proved
so spooky.
to be only the lantern of an itinerant soba seller, who had set down his stand by the roadside. But any light and any human companionship was good after that experience. And he flung himself down at the feet of the soba seller, crying out, Kore, Kore, roughly exclaimed the soba man. Here, what is the matter with you? Anybody hurt you? No, nobody hurt me, panted the other. Only,
Hang on, this is technicality here. Little nose click there. I don't know what the technical word for it is, but
nobody hurt me, panted the other. Only, only scared you? Queried the peddler.
I'm going to reduce the gap there. Why did it not like that? There we go.
Only scared you? Queried the peddler unsympathetically. Robbers? Not robbers. Not robbers, gasped the terrified man. I saw a woman by the moat, and she showed me. Oh, I cannot tell you what she showed me. Hey, was it anything like this that she showed you? Cried the soba man, stroking his own face, which therewith became like unto an egg, and simultaneously the light went out. Ugh, that's creepy. So creepy. Well done, Love Cardio Hearn. Okay, right, and I'm just going to put in the end at the end here. The light went out. The end. No, needs to be longer. About 2.5 seconds. The light went out. The end. The end. That'll do. It's not great. All right, doesn't matter. I think I'm being overly critical. Now, what you may have forgotten, dear listener, is that this new bit now needs to be mastered as well. Oh, gosh. Needs to be mastered as well. I just did the wrong thing there. Okay, that's mastered, but now look at all this purple haze. It needs to be addressed. So we need to get rid of that background noise. And while it's rendering, just a heads up, we're going to have a bathroom break in a second. So if you are needing to do a bathroom break yourself, I don't know why this would be something I need to tell you, but feel free to go to the bathroom. All right. Oh, that's what's going on. It went out. Oh, that's terrifying. That's terribly bad. The light went out. Okay, that's better. The end.
Oh, that's way too loud. Okay, so what I'll do is, I don't know how to fix that. It's because there's such a long pause, and yeah, okay, it's affected the macro. The macro has been affected by that massive silence and only one small sentence. Okay, so, well, not sentence, phrase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick check. What is the RMS level? That's the average sound, 24.28. I'm actually going to reduce that. 24.28, I'm going to reduce that now. Okay, loudness normalization, reduce RMS to, I'm actually going to say like 35. And it's going to look ridiculous. The end. That's better though. All right, okay, so now I'm going to select all, I'm going to merge that together, I'm going to save that, and I'm going to start rendering it. Mujina. Jeez, that's terrifying, isn't it? Okay, bathroom break while it's rendering. I'll be right back. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Imagine forgetting your head torch, which I've left up here. Imagine forgetting your head torch and walking out into the dark at just before 1 a.m., witching hour. After reading that story and giving yourself goosebumps, giving myself a little bit of a scare, and then walking out into the dark to get to the bathroom break. That was a silly move. Hang on, it's getting warm in here again. I'm gonna turn this fan up. Oh yeah. This is my biggest fan. I know it's the same joke as before. It never gets old. Not in this booth, where time stands still. And the only existence in which we sit is the one that is in the publication date of whichever story I am reading. Which means we're currently in 1904. Imagine, this is by the by, imagine if I had one of these in 1904. I would literally be a millionaire. Okay, right. We've mastered it, we've extracted it, now not boring to me anyway, but the part of the process, actually no, I will do this. But what I'm going to do now is I will explain to you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do it, okay? So first of all, I'm going to open up my video editing software, which I don't have a screen capture for. Why don't I have a screen capture for that? I can probably create a screen capture. It's just not very exciting. Anyway, no, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to open up CapCut, which is my video editing software. I have got CapCut Premium. I've tried to wean myself off Premium, but it's just so handy that and I've weaned myself off other stuff. Like I used to subscribe to a royalty-free music service called Upbeat with 2 P's. That shows how cool it is, I guess. Trendy. I've weaned myself off that and a couple of other services. And Crunchyroll, which I used to use because I worked for an anime recap channel back in the day as their voice actor. And that has justified the cost of this a little bit more anyway. So it's just so simple. Look, I'm already done the process as I've been talking to you. Just have to type in the name. I'm I'm going to make it 720p, not 1080p, because what's the point? It's just black screen with audio in the background, and the audio is going to be absolutely fine. All right, let's export that. And it's already 50% done. While it's doing that, I'm going to start searching now for a quote for my thumbnail, and you'll see this pop up on the screen. This is the Paint, the Microsoft Paint. You know, good old Microsoft Paint. This is how the magic comes to life. So I'm going to search for a quote that, hang on, I'm getting my tablet. Just going to search for a quote that brings, hang on, that brings this magic to life. I'm going to use this, this writing tablet and this magical stylus to make it look magically magical. What that means is basically I'm going to find a quote, and I'm going to write it down in the Microsoft Paint. Now I think, and in a second you'll probably hear the audio go, because when it's finished exporting the video file, it will be done. It'll tell me it's done by starting to play it. So I need a quote that is probably about 3 to 4 words long is ideal. 3 is my favorite. But I need a quote that is, you know, clickbaity, for want of a better word. Engaging. That's the better term, isn't it? I don't want to seem like I'm peddling clickbait. I mean, imagine if you were like, oh, Lafcadio Hearn. There it is. So that's finished the video. Imagine if you saw that clickbait and you were like, oh, Lafcadio Hearn's Mujina. Gee, this must be, wow, so good. That's not the kind of clickbait I imagine many people look for. I guess even, oh, look at this one. The light went out. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I feel like the light went out is pretty darn good. Okay. 4 words fulfills that. I'm just going to scribble it down over here on the Paint just to keep that in mind. Calligraphy brush, and we'll use 18 point, or 17 or 18 point. 18 points, good. So the light went out. I'm just going to quickly dash it down here. Oh, that didn't work. Hang on. And while I'm doing all of this, I'm going to just, hang on, I'm going to get some royalty-free. Oh, sure did. This is the one I like to use. Okie dokie. All right. Getting the vibe. Okay, a bit of background music while I conduct my work. All right, so here we go. The light went out is something that I was thinking about writing. Oh gosh. Oh, why is it doing this? It's, oh God. There we go. I think I am going to use this. I tend not to overthink the thumbnail too much anymore. It used to be like I could spend up to 3 hours on it. I don't even worry about the neatness of the writing. I do worry about the size of the writing a bit. So it's going to be the light. Or it could be something about, maybe I could choose a quote. A quote about the appearance of the Mujina. That seems like a later problem. I'm just too obsessed with getting this now. The light. Here, we'll put it up here. That's too big. The light went. See, if I overthink about how neat or less neat this is, then I just don't end up doing anything. And it just paralyzes me. I think the fact that I'm doing it on stream as well is just like so, it makes me a little bit, feel a bit self-judgmental, if that means, you know, I know you guys don't care, but, too bad. No. How does that sound? Is that loud? How loud does that sound anyway? Okay, no, it's not too bad. So I use, this is what I use. It's called Japanese music, no copyright, beautiful koto and shakuhachi music BGM playlist, and the channel is called Japanese Momiziba music / moji. And so obviously I recommend them. I'm just giving them a shout out because I use that music a lot, and I'm writing this quote down, the light went out. I think that is going to be the most memorable quote for me because it's a bit of a spoiler though, it is the last sentence, but it's such a short story, I'm stuck as to what I should be doing here. So I'm just going to use that quote, and that's okay. I could also do something like, she had no eyes, or nose, or mouth. I could say she had no eyes. It's a bit clickbaity, but so is the light went out. The light went out, I think, has more of what we call a curiosity gap. So like, what do you mean the light went out? Like, is that scary? It could mean a lot more things than just she had no eyes though, as well, which means I'm appealing to, I don't know, I'm overthinking this, but like, I think that is what I'll choose. Okay, I'm gonna put away the tablet. Tablet is going away. Thank you, tablet. Hi. Okay, so I'll pop him down a little hidden sleeve down here in the side of the booth. And I might just quickly, I might just make the word out red, because why not? Oh, bugger. Hang on. Up. I do need this tablet again, because I need to. Hang on. Is this 18 font? 18 point? Yep. I need to do quotation marks, don't I? In it, governor. Alright, okay. So just some simple little quotation marks here. Oh, mate, that's award-winning quotation marks right there. Right there, lad. Okay, right. So, okay. We're going to quickly copy that, paste it. There we go. And we're going to flip it. I'm going to flip it horizontally so it makes sense. And I have explained this in the past, why I just copy and flip it. But it's basically because of the shape of the calligraphy brush. It bothers me how it produces, the shape it produces, basically. So, okay, I like that. That'll do, Peg. That'll do. Alright, so we're going to save that. And this is annoying for you as well. You're not going to get to see the next bit. But I'm going to make I'm going to make that into the thumbnail. This is where the magic happens, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Canva, of which I also have a premium subscription. And the reason I'm pointing out this is not to brag how rich I am, because well, look at me. I'm in a booth made of pallet wood, scrap wood. But what I'm saying is, if you are thinking about doing thumbnail creation, or if you're doing anything on YouTube, I would say the things that would be useful in paying for over anything else would be your, obviously your microphone. I think that's worth it. The camera though, this is 720p. I know it doesn't look great, but you can see who I am. That's kind of all I need at the moment. I don't need to be seen, I just need to be seen. Do you know what I'm saying? And to be heard. And so the camera's not as important as the microphone. You'll hear that advice a lot if you are getting into content creation. And the other thing that I would recommend is the right software, spending money on the right software. I would not say that you need to spend money on audio recording and editing software, because Audacity is a great name for the program because it has the audacity to actually be really good for something that's so free. It's absolutely free. Never has it asked me to pay it any money in 2 years, which is incredible for something this day and age, to not have some kind of hidden microtransaction or something like that. I would highly recommend it. It is free. Don't spend money on your audio editing software. As well as that, there is another free and really good... Oh, you guys can see that. Hang on. There we go. I'm glad you can see that, actually. That's nice. Okay, so you're seeing the process happen here on Canva really quick. Not the fanciest, never promised it to be. I'm going to leave a fair bit of space around the edge of it. So yeah, Audacity is free. There is another audio recording piece of software, an editing software called Reaper, or if you're American, Reaper, R-E-A-P-E-R. And there's a guy called Booth Junkie on YouTube. He actually has a whole free course, and I'm not even kidding you, like, it's actually free. There's no, like, he won't ask you to pay afterwards, but he has a free course that gets you to set up the Reaper software in a way that makes it suitable for voiceover in particular, like voice acting in particular, which is incredible. And okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to upload this video. I'm going to do that in a different tab. And once you get that setup done with Reaper, when you design it to make to record specifically voiceover, like I said, the YouTube channel is called Booth Junkie. Would recommend him any time of day. And get that set up. Then what you do is you have a free recording software that's professional level. And if you have those two things, like I said, a good microphone, a shoddy camera, free recording software, all that's left is something to make your thumbnails. I use Canva mostly because I'm just used to it, but you can do it in Microsoft Paint. Like, whatever you want to do your thumbnail for. And if you say to me that it doesn't look professional enough, I don't think professionalism is the issue anymore. I think the key word is authenticity. It just needs to be consistent and consistently you, if that makes any sense. The light went out. Oh wait, whoops. And as well as that, you need some video editing software. Now, the reason I use CapCut Premium is because I have other channels, and I try to there it is. And I try to, what am I talking about? I try to use professional level, like it's entry level professional. Like, I wouldn't say CapCut is even the best thing you could use, but I find it absolutely fine. Here we go. And I find that it's really easy. It's very user friendly. CapCut is very easy to use. I would say it does everything I've ever needed it to do, with a very few exceptions, like sound visualizers and things like that, but I can't really blame it for that. And there are ways around that. And the last thing you need is, if you're going to stream, you don't have to pay money for that either. You could just get something called OBS. don't know what it stands for. Something studio, probably. OBS is what I'm streaming on right now. The learning curve is nearly vertical. It's a steep learning curve, but it's actually over pretty quickly. You could be streaming within the day, you know, if you spend a good hour or two learning it, watching a couple of YouTube videos, and you don't even have to understand it at first, just follow those instructions. It'll be fine. Right, so. I'm gonna upload our thumbnail to the upload process. Once we've uploaded our thumbnail, I am gonna do some more recording, by the way, guys. I won't master it tonight, but I'm gonna read something. I'm gonna pick something relatively random. So boys, you will see how I deal with having to stick to some kind of schedule. And I do that by doing something impulsive afterwards, during, or before. And that's one of my coping mechanisms for getting through life. Have to eat a healthy breakfast? Don't worry, there'll be an unhealthy snack at some point during that week or day. That sounds terrible, but it doesn't have to be a big, you know, like I just have to feel like I'm subverting some kind of system, if that makes any sense. Alright. Here we go. So, I'm calling it that, Mujina. They're not highly discoverable titles because I love Cardio-han. Because I don't want to clickbait everybody. This is a channel for my sons, really. So if you like what we do, great. Subscribe, that'd be lovely. But I'm really not. I'm not expecting this to be a multi-million-dollar channel or anything. Would be happy if it was. I don't think it's going to happen. So, not the way I treat it at the moment, anyway. All right. Okay. Don't allow remixing. No, thank you. And within a minute from now, you'll be seeing this on the YouTube. And it can be as simple as that once you've practiced. No issues found with the copyright, as there shouldn't be. It's public domain. Straight from Project Gutenberg, which I recommend to everybody. Okay, it's up. Mujina, love Cardio-han. You have been here for the entire process of me finding the content. Well, not finding it, but accessing the content, creating the content, and uploading the content to YouTube. It's that easy. It isn't that easy. It's actually, I mean, I've been practicing a while, but, you know, you could totally do this. Now, we're going to turn off the music. Thank you very much, music. We're going to find a completely random story, and I'm going to try and read it as raw as possible into the Audacity, because that is what I feel like I have right now. I have the Audacity. All right. So, here we go. In a crazy world in 2026, one man-child sat in his booth and had the guts to do very little, but do it in the name of a legacy project for his sons. I love you guys so much. Right. Oh wait, that's because that's the same story. Mate? Alright, let's chill out. Kwaidan. Oh. Andre Norton? I think. Plague Ship by Andre Norton. How long is that? How many words is it? Oh, it's going to be too long. Ride Proud, Rebel. 417, that's going to be huge. Starborn. Too big. 392 kilobytes means it's going to be at least 30,000 words. All Cats Are Grey. I think I read that during a stream the other day. I'm not sure if I ended up turning it into anything. The Gifts of Asti. I read that on a live stream. I think I deleted that stream because I was swearing too much. I was just like, oh, I don't want that out there. The People of the Crater. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. The People of the Crater. Fingers crossed it's a short one. Oh, it looks a bit too long. All right, The People of the Crater. Chapter 1, that's not a good sign. Yeah, it's a bit too long for what I'm trying to get Done. Actually, in that case, I'm going to go over to not Project Gutenberg for this because I can filter out at the Library of Short Stories. I can filter out full length of read. And I want to do that right now. Whoa! I can go to one of these tabs here that tells me 0 to 10 minute stories, but that won't give me the range that I'm looking for. So I'll go browse the library and I will sort it by length. Hey, there we go. There we go. So I go past all these very short ones, which are mostly Aesop's fables and individual poems. A small fable on charlatanry. Banjo Patterson, so that's a bit of fun stuff there. To the Sun. No, I want something. I could do a Lovecraft. I think at this time of night I could pull my voice towards a more Lovecraftian kind of thing. Memory. In a valley where ruins of old buildings are covered in moss, a genie asks a demon who built these long-gone buildings. And the quote is, "In the valley of Nice, the accursed waning moon shines thinly, tearing a path for its light with feeble horns through the lethal foliage of a great upas tree." I'm so sure I've read about the upas tree. It's a Southeast Asian, it's got poisonous sap, I think, or it's poisonous in some way. It's highly toxic. What about Emancipation's A Life Fable? It's only 318 words. It's nice and small. Oh, I've read this before. It's beautiful. Let's have a go. Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do this. Let's just get straight into it. G'day guys, welcome back to Boring Dad Sleep Stories. Today we're going to read Emancipation, A Life Fable by Chopin. And it's Fable by Chopin. It's, wait, when would I, is it Chopin? Chopin? Fable by Chopin. It was published in, Fable, throat gurgle. Chopin. It was published in 1969 in the complete works of Chopin. And just to, in the complete works of Chopin. And just a little reminder, this entire channel is dedicated to our two sons, who are currently 6 and 3 years old. Boys, I hope you enjoy this and get as much out of it as I did. Love you guys. So much. Avanti. There was once an animal born into this world, and opening his eyes upon life, he saw nothing. Oh. Avanti. Love you guys. So much. Avanti. There was once an animal born into this world, and opening his eyes upon life, he saw above and about him confining walls, and before him were bars of iron through which came air and light from without. This animal was born in a cage. He was born in a cage. Here he grew and throve in strength. Throve. It's such a funny word. Here he grew and throve in strength and beauty under the care of an invisible protecting hand. Hungering, food was ever at hand. Ending 2 sentences in a row with hand is wild. Okay. This animal was born in a cage. Here he grew and throve in strength and beauty under the care of an invisible protecting hand. Hungering, food was ever at hand. When he thirsted, water was brought, and when he felt the need to rest, there was provided a bed of straw upon which to lie. And here he found it good, licking his handsome flanks, to bask in the sunbeam that he thought existed but to lighten his home. Maybe I need to breathe between sentences. Maybe that would make sense. Hungering, care of an invisible, protecting hand. Hungering, food was ever at hand. When he thirsted, water was brought, and when he felt the need to rest, there was provided a bed of straw upon which to lie. And here he found it good, licking his handsome flanks, to bask in the sunbeam that he thought existed but to lighten his home. Awaking one day from his slothful rest, lo, the door of his cage stood open. Accident had opened it. In the corner he crouched, wondering and fearingly. Then, slowly did he approach the door, dreading the unaccustomed, and would have closed it, but for such a task his limbs were purposeless. So, out the opening he thrust his head, to see the canopy of the sky grow broader, and the world waxing wider. Back to his corner, but not to rest, for the spell of the unknown was over him, and again he goes to the open door, seeing each time more light. Then, one time, standing in the flood of it, a deep, indrawn breath, a bracing of strong limbs, and with a bound, he was gone. On he rushes in his mad flight, heedless that he is wounding and tearing his sleek sides, seeing, smelling, touching of all things, even stopping to put his lips to the noxious pool, thinking it may be sweet. Hungering, there is no food, but such as he must seek, and oft time. Oh, sorry. What was that? Sorry, guys, frog in my throat. Okay. Pool, thinking it may be sweet. Hungering, there is no food, but such as he must seek, and oft times fight for, and his limbs are weighted before he reaches the water that is good to his thirsting throat. Okay. I think my reading of it is terrible, but it's an amazing story. The end. I think my reading of it is terrible, like I said, but I think it's an amazing story. So, shall we upload it now? Shall we just upload it? We'll do a proof listen. We're going to save that as, what's it called? Emancipation, a life fable. There is a bit of sweetness in the writing, which I really appreciate. Like, a real knowingness around, like, emancipation is a painful process, and you may regret your emancipation. You may miss the times in which you felt trapped, but institutionalized in a way that was comforting in your entrapment, whether it be with your family, in your job, in your school, in your relationship, in your friendship, even in your, just like your habits. Emancipating yourself from anything is a painful and difficult process, and it is not teleological. And what I mean by teleological is, like, it's not aiming towards this one point at the end where you are trying to get to enlightenment, unless you believe in Maslow's hierarchy of needs and all that kind of stuff, which I just don't think it's a pyramid anymore. I think it's just like this wonky, like more like the Weasley's house. You know, it's like got bits sticking out the side, little cul-de-sacs of comfort along the way to, what does he call it? He doesn't call it emancipation. What's at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Is it ideation? No, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What's the very top bit? Self-actualization. That's what they call it. I don't know. I think there's a lot more pockets of comfort Emancipation, a life fable. Anyway, my point is, I think this story captures it perfectly. Okay, here we go. Control all. Okay, I think that's back to where I need it to be. Okay, I'll join them up and grab my noise sample, my sound sample. Noise reduction. Get the noise profile, control all, repeat. We're going to reduce the sound floor, the noise floor. We're going to reduce it again. Then we're going to do a proofread because it's only 3 minutes and 18 seconds long. But before we do that, what is the noise floor now? 76, that'll do. G'day guys, welcome back to... And I need a punch, copy, punch, paste. Here we go. Okay. Copy, replace, okay. Oh, crikey. Okay. There we go. That's better. That was a really long roundabout way to get there. G'day guys, welcome back to Boring Dad Sleep Stories. Today we're going to read Emancipation, a Life Fable by Chopin. Let's do our It was published in 1969. Ooh, and I can already hear something there. What was that? Chopin. By Chopin. That's a weird little wiggle there. Vocal wiggle. We're going to get rid of that bad boy. By Chopin. Oh, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to get rid of that entire little section there. By Chopin. It was published in 1969 in the complete works of Chopin. And just a little reminder, this entire channel is dedicated to our two sons, who are currently 6 and 3 years old. Boys, I hope you enjoy this. Is old. 3 years old. Boys, I hope you enjoy this and get as much out of it as I did. Love you guys. So much. Love you guys. So much. Avanti. There was once an animal born into this world, and opening his eyes upon... Once an animal born into this world, and opening his eyes upon life, he saw above and about him confining walls, and before him were bars of iron through which came air and light from without. This animal was born in a cage. Here he grew and throve in strength and beauty under the care of an invisible, protecting hand. Hungering, food was ever at hand. When he thirsted, water was brought, and when he felt the need to rest, there was provided a bed of straw upon which to lie. And here, which to lie. Yeah, see that little mouth squirt there? Terrifyingly bad. Upon which to lie. And here, upon which to lie. And here he found it good, licking his handsome flanks, to bask in the sunbeam that he thought existed but to lighten his home. Awaking one day from his slothful rest, lo, the door of his cage stood open. Accident had opened it. In the corner he crouched, wondering and fearingly. Then, slowly did he approach the door, dreading the unaccustomed, and would have closed it, but for such a task his limbs were purposeless. So, out the opening he thrust his head, to see the canopy of the sky grow broader, and the sky grow broader, and the world waxing wider. Back to his corner, but not to rest, for the spell of the unknown was over him, and again he goes to the open door, seeing each time more light. Then, one time, standing in the flood of it, a deep, indrawn breath, a bracing of strong limbs, and with a bound, he was gone. On he rushes in his mad flight, heedless that he is wounding and tearing his sleek sides, seeing, smelling, touching of all things, even stopping to put his lips to the noxious pool, thinking it may be sweet. It may be sweet. Thinking it may be sweet. Hungering, there is no food but such as he must seek, and oft-times fight for, and his limbs are weighted before he reaches the water that is good to his thirsting throat. The end.
Boys, I'm not going to lie, wow, that's just, if you listen to that 10 times in a row, I'm not saying you have to, but that would only be half an hour of your day. Not that you have to. I feel like you would get more and more out of it each time as you applied it and overlaid your own experiences onto that. One thing I'd love for you to read, which I loved, and your auntie, my older sister, immediate older sister, because we've got a few of those, loved, or two, I've got two older sisters, is a book by Melina Marchetta, and it's called Looking for Alibrandi, not Saving Francesca, that's her other book, which is basically a cheaper, not as good version. It's okay. But Looking for Alibrandi, there's a movie, you need to feel resilient to do it, and you need to be in a good frame of mind and headspace to do it, mentally speaking and mental health-wise. There is a lot of tragedy in it, but there is also a lot of insight into it, and it's also set in some parts of the flashbacks are set close to where you come from. So it is really a lovely story, and it is a story that it centers around, amongst other themes, the theme of emancipation. And similarly to this, if you overlaid those experiences of that protagonist, if you feel like this doesn't apply to you, think about what Josie Alibrandi goes through in her emancipation from her family, and whether or not she actually does become emancipated from her family. That's kind of like a trick question as far as I'm concerned, but I feel like her journey to emancipation has just as much baggage as this does, except this is just a condensed tale of emancipation. It's beautiful. It has all the good and the bad and the ugly of emancipation. That's all I'm saying. Okay, right. So we're going to quickly upload this now. Part of the reason I started live streaming was so that I wouldn't have to do those little rants like I've just been doing for the last couple of minutes at the end of the stories or during the stories or before the stories. I want the stories just to be kind of the stories. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's nice to have a pure product in terms of the audiobook without having to kind of muddy the waters. It is for you, boys, my sons, but definitely I do want other people to be able to enjoy it and not feel like I'm addressing them instead of you, if you know what I mean. Anyway, now we're going to go through the same process. We're going to render this into a video file. Here we go. And after this, I'm going to go to bed. It's been a long time.
3.5 hours, actually. I've had a great time, though. So it shouldn't be in here, Emancipation. I've saved it into the wrong folder. That's okay. There we go. It's in the right folder now. All right, I'm going to pop that in. Okay. We're going to export it. It's already halfway done. And while it's going through that, I'm going to create a thumbnail. Right, okay. So in order to do that, let's exit, get rid of all that. Now we're going to get our tablet back out. We're going to find a quote. We're going to find a quote to write. Okie dokie, artichoke. What is the quote that we shall choose? Here it is. Then one time standing in the flood of it. I mean, there's so many... Sorry, pardon me. There's so many moments in this that are quotable, but the quotes are too long, I feel. Oh, we'll get rid of that. Just going to start the upload process. And in order to do that, I just have to open up a new tab in a separate window, and I will upload a new video in YouTube in that tab, in that new window. I'll select the file that I need, which is Emancipation. It's going to start the process off. And now, while that's uploading, which won't take very long, I'm going to quickly find a quote. So, I could choose "He thrust his head." That's pretty good. I quite like that. Back to his corner, but not to rest. That last paragraph is almost like a little epilogue, isn't it? I mean, the rest of it is the introduction. It's the denouement, but it's like the current day. It's how he's surviving his newfound emancipation. I think that's really cool. And it's summing up his life, you know, how it's been since the emancipation. Very cool. And it gives you so much detail in one sentence. It's incredible. Right. What about the door of his cage stood open? I don't know what I think of that. He thrust his head is 4 words. That's kind of more what I'm after. What if I just said his cage stood open? That's 4 words. I think it's a bit more compelling. I could be wrong there. It's just my opinion. You tell me if you think I'm wrong. Obviously. I'm listening. Across time and space. Okay. His cage stood open. Let's get this done. we can get to bed. His cage. What the heck was that? What is this? I'm so close to just copying and pasting that O. So many O's, so little time. I see an O and I say, oh no. That's the kind of humor you can expect here. Okay, that'll do it. Okay, we're going to move that over a little. Going to just quickly, there we go, select those quotation marks because I've explained this all before. I'm not going to go over it again. Why I'm just going to steal it and flip them horizontally. Just trust. It's a good idea. A little slight angle, make them look a bit more impromptu and hasty, which they are. And now I'm going to dye his cage stood open. Now, which word should be highlighted here to gain, to give it emphasis? For a quote, his cage stood open. His cage stood open. I think open. What do you think? I think that's what we'll go with. Oh God. I should have used a red pen. That would have just solved all these issues. I'm mucking it up. It doesn't matter. All right. Crikey. There we go. That'll do it. All right. We're going to save as. Save it as a ye olde PNG. All right. There we go. Now we're going to head over to Canva. We're going to get rid of the last one from the last video we just uploaded to the channel about a Japanese ghost story. Crikey, that was a great one, wasn't it? Alright, okay, here we go. We're going to go into pictures. And we're going to drag that. His cage stood open. We're going to drag that straight into Canva. Here he is. And we're going to remove the background. And I'm going to get rid of paint so you can see what I'm doing. Simply going to do this. I've already got my kind of parchment background, which I've been using lately. Been favoring. Alright, there we are. His cage stood open. I think that sums up one of the essences of this story about emancipation. Alright, download that bad boy. Then I'm going to go over to my upload page. I've already started uploading the file. We've recorded it. Now, what is the full name of the story? The full name of it is Emancipation, a Life Fable. I'm just going to copy and paste that straight in. Why the heck not? By Kate Chopin. She is a master with words. Jerry Seinfeld, I'm sure, has talked about, I think that's where I have heard this before. He used to write jokes for stand-up, and he would write the joke, just kind of write it stream of consciousness, and then he would take away as many words as he could until that joke made 0 sense anymore. And then he would add the word back, the last word he took out that made it make sense again, and that was what he settled on. And that's how we got these really condensed one-liners. He would take away every single word that wasn't necessary. And I think that Kate Chopin, especially in this story, it's a great demonstration. I think she's a master of it. I think she's so concise in her writing. Kate Chopin. Now we're uploading this video straight to this narration, straight up to the channel. Right. Reuse the details from the last video. And there it is. We're going to not reuse the title. Oh, crikey. What a lovely stream it's been. Welcome, if you're new to the stream. I don't know if you've ever played any video games like I have. Like there's this one called Diablo. There's a narrator at the start of it, of Diablo 1. And it's one of the most iconic lines, I think, for a voice actor. Like, it's one of the most memorable things I remember, and thinking as a kid, like, I'd love to have his job, that'd be great. And he tells the story of the lore of the game, and he goes, "Stay a while and listen." And it's just like this throaty, husky voice. Anyway. Alright. So, I'm going to upload that thumbnail, which I've just made. His cage stood open. And, like the narrator in the game says, "Stay a while and listen." Thank you for coming and listening to me chat about nothing much. And watching me get ready to upload this. Hang on, I'm just taking away some of these tags. Upload this book by, I'm just adding in a tag here, Chopin. How are you supposed to pronounce it? I pronounce it Chopin. Just because, I mean, there's the isn't there like there's a composer from back in ye olde times, Beethoven, Bach, Vivaldi, all that kind of stuff, and I'm pretty sure Chopin is in the mix there. And I've listened to a bit of Chopin. Don't ask me to quote any of his pieces. It sounds good. I remember it sounds good. Not to the point where I'm listening to it every day, but I like it. Right. Not that I'm a purist with music. This music is just, I searched up on YouTube, royalty-free Japanese music. Worked for me. Alright, hope it's working for you. Chopin, Emancipation. What was it called again? Hang on, I'll just copy and paste it again. A Life Fable. There we go. And it's gotten rid of my last tag. There we go. Done. Okay. Audio. There we go. Done. We're going to upload that. And within the next minute, you're going to see a new video pop up on the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, what the heck are you doing? You might as well click the subscribe button. So in about 10 seconds from now, you get that notification that says, click, publish. I've just clicked the publish button. The magic has happened. You should be getting a notification now after you've subscribed saying, Boring Dad Sleep Stories has uploaded a new video called Emancipation, A Life Fable, Kate Chopin, with an amazing, very bespoke thumbnail that looks like nothing else you've ever seen before, and I don't mean that in a good way. It sure is unique. I'm being consistent though, guys, okay? These thumbnails, they're consistent. And with that, let's just sum up what we've done today on this stream, because where you are right now, if you're watching this, I hope you're not in Australia like me, because it means that you're up at 1:53 a.m. on a Thursday. Oh, it's not Thursday anymore, it's Friday. Friday morning. 17 to something-ish hours above, not above. This isn't a superiority thing, okay, America? Poor Americans. No. So I'm a bit ahead of the Americans, who are probably just coming up on Thursday morning, getting about their day. I have no idea. I can't do maths very well. So, what have we done today? Let's change this screen. There we go. So today, what have we done? We warmed up our voice with an H.G. Wells story, which was awesome. Then we got straight on to the Hardy Boys, and we recorded 2 more chapters of the Shore Road Mystery. We then moved on to What's that story called again? I can't remember. Another Lafcadio Hearn story, and I've just cut out the music. Mujina by Lafcadio Hearn in his anthology called Kwaidan or Kaidan. And then we moved on to what you've just seen. A nice little story to finish up the night, a little condensed nugget of wisdom called Emancipation, a Life Fable by Kate Chopin. And I've uploaded those to the channel. I haven't uploaded Hardy Boys because obviously I have a bit more to go, and that's fine. But, oh gosh, I'm going to take this off. Sweaty ears. One of the things they don't tell you about when you start doing voiceover. So, it's been amazing to be with you here on this streaming with you and hanging out with you. And I know Marion joined us in the chat today, so thanks, Marion, very much. I think she was here before anyone else. Even myself, she was there waiting for the stream. And Marissa from Read Weird Stuff with Me, who has got an amazing channel, and once more, I will give her a shout out. Please go and check out her channel. She's where I learned about Lafcadio Hearn, and she is where you will learn about many more weird fiction like archetypal writers, and also some unheard of writers. She's bringing some cool stuff back into the record, and she is giving us clear, concise summaries of the people behind the work. And I cannot understate how important that kind of work is and how good she is at it. She's very clear and concise. She has a logical approach to it, unlike me, who is just spending 3.5 to 4 hours at a time chatting to you about it. Go and check her out. Read Weird Stuff with Me. She's in the live comments, the live chat, and if you can't see it there, just Google it, or YouTube it, Read Weird Stuff with Me. Filter out the channels, go check her stuff out. She uploads, I think she's going to upload more often, like once a week these days, instead of once a month. So that's pretty exciting. Or once every 2, I don't know how often she used to, but it's going to be once a week now. Right. As you can see, I look a bit defeated and beaten, but I am extremely happy. There we go. Look, how's this? Is this better? Okay, right. Well, I've addressed the people in the stream. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for dropping in. Thank you for watching, listening, hopefully laughing at my amazing jokes. By the way, speaking of which, did you hear about all those dogs that went missing? They don't know who did it, but they've got some leads. I've also got another one. I put another one up in a dad joke group that I'm in the other day. What was it? A man in Glasgow walked into a bakery and asked the baker, "Is that a cake or a meringue?" That's my Glasgow accent. It sounds nothing like that. If you've ever heard someone from Glasgow in Scotland, it sounds, "Is that a cake or a meringue?" And the baker said, "Nah, mate, you're right. It is a cake." And if you don't get that, you're going to have to think about how things are pronounced in a Scottish accent. All right, okay. So with that cryptic clue, I'm going to leave you to it. Have a lovely day. Be well, be safe. And to my sons now, I have nothing special to say to you that I don't say to you every day. Yeah, I just love you so much. And whenever you have found the time and had the inclination to watch and listen to this, it was the right time. Okay, so don't feel bad if you didn't listen to it until you were 50 and I was dead or something like that. But if you are, geez, that's morbid. But if you're listening to it before that, just know that if I'm around and within contactable distance, or you have the means to contact me and you want to have a chat, I bet I would love to have a chat with you. Even if we just had a chat 10 seconds ago, okay? Yeah, because you guys are the twin suns around which we revolve, your mother and I. So, you know, that's why we call our property, as you might remember, Tatooine. Because we have 2 suns around which we revolve. All right, heading out for the night. Gonna go to bed, wake up in I don't want to say how many hours or how few hours. And I'm going to take you guys out for the morning after breakfast, after Mummy's gone to work. And we're going to go hang out together at a local attraction. Maybe go to an ice cream shop after that. Come home. I'm going to just do an amazing parenting job of chucking you in front of a screen while I have a nap to make up for this sleep deficit that I've built up. Sorry. All right. Okay. Did you always wonder why Daddy was tired? Anyway, love you guys. And to everyone else, have a great day. Be safe, be well. See ya.